Naruto. Using unscrupulous methods, becoming the mastermind behind the scenes. Chapter 81. After the mist ninja saw the intruder's face, someone immediately exclaimed, "It's that demon, Uchiha Mukaku. It really is that fool. Let me kill him." Hearing Uchiha Mukaku's name, many mist ninja gnashed their teeth. It was this guy who, with his poisonous scheme, caused a large number of mist ninja to lose their lives in Konoha. Seeing the anger on the faces of the people opposite him, Uchiha Mukaku felt a bit conflicted. He was happy that after many years of transmigrating, he had finally gone from an unknown nobody to being famous. He was worried that if he fell into the hands of such enraged mist ninja, he would surely die. Uchiha Mukaku showed no mercy. The moment he attacked, he used the strongest fire release ninjutsu he had mastered, fire release, great fireball technique. 3 bright white fire dragons, carrying scorching heat, charged towards the mist ninja. Facing such a large-scale fire release attack, the mist ninja dared not be careless. Several ninja immediately used water release, water formation wall, forming a huge water wall for defense. The moment the fire dragons collided with the water wall boiled due to the high temperature, and a large amount of white water mist filled the battlefield. This was exactly the result Uchiha Mukaku wanted. He tore open a summoning scroll, and after a puff of white smoke, a giant shuriken appeared in his hand. He threw the shuriken with all his might, then activated the shuriken shadow clone technique. The giant shuriken flying through the air multiplied from 1 to countless, raining down on the battlefield like a storm. Due to the cover of the mist, many mist ninja were struck by the giant shuriken falling from the sky before they even realized the danger, dying tragically. After all, the shuriken was enormous. Even if they weren't injured by its sharp blade, they would be crushed to death by its immense weight. Not only the mist ninja suffered, but this port also did not escape. The giant shuriken smashed down many buildings, and even those that didn't collapse had huge holes left in their warehouse roofs and walls. Just as wails filled the mist ninja camp, their leader finally arrived. Looking at his heavily wounded teammates, the newcomer immediately ordered, "All ninja, quickly assist the injured in evacuating the battlefield. Everyone, be on alert around the battlefield's perimeter. I will handle this guy." Upon hearing the command, these mist ninja immediately withdrew from the battlefield. Although they really wanted to kill that Uchiha Mukaku, from the earlier exchange, it was clear they were no match for that demon. As soon as the mist on the battlefield cleared, Uchiha Mukaku saw his old acquaintance. He mockingly teased, "Mist Ice Release Ninja Suxin, I really have to thank you for sparing my life back then. So this is how a leaf ninja repays kindness, how ill-mannered." Mist Ice Release Bloodline Limit Ninja Suxin responded coldly. The other party's sarcasm left Uchiha Mukaku momentarily speechless. He hadn't expected this guy to be so eloquent, and his mind, unable to process it quickly, couldn't come up with a retort. "Next, I'll repay you properly. And benefactor like you is better off dead," Uchiha Mukaku responded stiffly. "HMPH, your words truly disgrace Konoha Ninja Village and the Uchiha clan. Let me clean house for them." Before he finished speaking, Suxin, with a grim expression, launched a sneak attack. A massive ice crystal shuriken condensed in his hand. The snowflake-shaped weapon cut through the air, flying towards Uchiha Mukaku. Having experienced the power of this move, Uchiha Mukaku dared not take it head-on, because once this ice crystal shuriken hit its target, it would completely freeze the target. Fire release. Great fireball technique was instantly completed in Uchiha Mukaku's hand. A huge and scorching fireball erupted from his mouth, precisely blocking the attack path of the ice crystal shuriken. The fireball, several meters in diameter, easily shattered the opponent's ice crystal shuriken, then charged towards the enemy with an unstoppable momentum. Suxin stomped on the ground, cracking an underground water pipe, causing high-speed water to gush out. Using the gushing water, Suxin immediately created a giant ice release shield, over 10 meters in diameter, blocking the rapidly approaching fireball. At the moment of impact, the great fireball technique exploded violently. The powerful shockwave shattered the ice shield Suxin had hastily created, and white ice fragments, carried by the shockwave, flew everywhere, creating a unique kind of beauty. Just as Uchiha Mukaku was observing the battle, the ground beneath him suddenly cracked, and huge ice spikes shot out from underground, piercing directly towards his lower body. What an astute enemy, using the underground water pipes for a surprise attack. This truly is a good method. Uchiha Mukaku, unable to react in time, had his body instantly pierced by the ice spikes from below, and blood stained the tips of the transparent ice spikes. However, his enemy, Suxin, showed no sign of joy, because he keenly noticed that the amount of blood the opponent was losing was incorrect. If he had truly been hit by that move, there would have been much more blood. Indeed, under Suxin's gaze, Uchiha Mukaku's body transformed into countless pythons in a cloud of white mist. He had only hit the enemy's clone. As Uchiha Mukaku's clone disappeared, a rush of wind came from behind him. Suxin turned his head, and several white pythons lunged, tightly coiling around his body. Uchiha Mukaku, who had circled behind the enemy to use hidden shadow snake hands, hadn't even had time to celebrate capturing the opponent when white frost spread along the bodies of the white pythons. This made him hurriedly release the summoning, thus stopping the opponent's ninjutsu attack. Uchiha Mukaku raised his blood-red pupils and looked. The white pythons that had bound Suxin had already been frozen solid. With a slight effort from the opponent, the white pythons' bodies shattered into several pieces and fell to the ground. Looking at Uchiha Mukaku's youthful face, Suxin praised him sincerely. "I didn't expect you to grow to this extent in just over a year. It's truly impressive. Just over a year ago, this guy only had the ability to parry and flee. Now he can fight him to a standstill," which made Suxin realize the threat he posed. No matter the cost, he had to keep him here, otherwise, once he grew, he would be a ninja no weaker than the 3 Sannin. Thinking this, Suxin clenched his hand in the air, and an ice-release spear appeared in his hand. Without a word, he threw it towards the enemy. Uchiha Mukaku didn't even have time to reply and immediately used body flicker technique to dodge. As expected, the moment the ice spear touched the building, a terrifying cold quickly spread, freezing everything around it in the blink of an eye. It must be said, the opponent's bloodline limit is truly astonishing, even more balanced in offense and defense than Yamato's would release, and even superior in terms of destructive power. However, Uchiha Mukaku responded, "If you only have this much ability, you're not qualified to clean house for Konoha Ninja Village and the Uchiha clan." Suxin's eyes, as cold as autumn water, looked over and he said defiantly, "You spoke too soon." With that, a large amount of chakra erupted from his body, and his hair and eyebrows turned white. This left Uchiha Mukaku dumbfounded. Who would have thought the opponent had a second stage? Suxin began to transform, and the air seemed to be brutally drawn away by an extreme cold force, causing the temperature to drop sharply. The battlefield was already permeated with a hint of chill, but now it was infinitely magnified. The surrounding water vapor instantly condensed into ice pellets, falling like rain. The ice layer beneath his feet spread rapidly from him as the center, freezing everything in its path, and the earth, rocks, and broken wood emitted painful creaking sounds. Chakra surged out like a raging white tide, forming a storm around his body, its howling imbued with a bone-chilling coldness. His hair and eyebrows became even more dazzlingly white, and his skin glowed with an eerie blue luster, as if covered by a layer of ice armor, with mysterious blue patterns flickering on it. His eyes were covered with frost, and his gaze was incomparably cold, like a war god emerging from an ice purgatory, exuding an irresistible sense of oppression, like an insurmountable ice peak that would consume anyone who approached with its biting cold. Seeing this form of the opponent, Uchiha Mukaku cursed inwardly. Good heavens, why didn't he use this move when he fought against Orochimaru-sensei back then? Is he bullying me because I'm young and don't have a second stage? Uchiha Mukaku naturally wouldn't sit idly by. Fire release. Great Dragon Fire technique was instantly activated, a ninjutsu known for its speed and precision. Under Uchiha Mukaku's control, several fire dragons surged directly towards Suxin, who was undergoing his second stage transformation. Wherever they passed, the falling ice pellets around them were instantly vaporized. Seeing the swiftly approaching fire dragons, Suxin acted with composure. He clasped his hands together, forming a tiger, seal, and in an instant, a dozen or so massive ice crystal tigers suddenly materialized before him, then lunged towards the incoming fire dragons in the blink of an eye. The fire dragons, carrying scorching hot flames, collided with the extremely cold ice crystal tigers. After a period of stalemate, the fire dragons exploded and vanished, and the ice tigers shattered and disintegrated. Neither side gained an advantage. However, the number of ice tigers was far greater than the fire dragons, and the remaining ice tigers rushed towards Uchiha Mukaku in a frenzy. Uchiha Mukaku watched the charging ice tigers, and with a flick of his wrist, several kunai with exploding tags appeared in his palm. Fortunately, He had recently come into some money, otherwise, using them like this would have pained him for a long time. The kunai with exploding tags arced gracefully through the air, precisely hitting each ice tiger, then shattering them in a dazzling explosion. Seeing this scene, Suksun was slightly surprised, and he inexplicably thought to himself, as expected of the Uchiha clan, this fighting style is truly extravagant. Facing this opponent who constantly released cold air and could freeze anything at any time, Uchiha Mukaku had no intention of engaging in close combat and could only choose to wear down the opponent with long-range ninjutsu. The opponent's second stage transformation was indeed powerful, but the chakra consumption would also increase exponentially. As long as he could endure the duration of the opponent's transformation, Uchiha Mukaku would have a sure victory. After the Ice Tiger attack failed, Suksun immediately regrouped. Countless ice blades formed around him, like the myriad swords returning to the sect from wuxia novels, forming a weapon storm that swept towards Uchiha Mukaku. Facing the sky-filling ice blade attack, Uchiha Mukaku immediately drew his ninjutsu blade from his waist and performed wind release, vacuum sword. Although this ninjutsu differs from wind release, vacuum blade by only one character, their effects are completely different. This ninjutsu involves wrapping wind release chakra around a weapon, allowing the user to create powerful wind blades simply by swinging the weapon, which can be used for both offense and defense, a sword technique used by Konoha Jonin Hayama Shirakumo. Facing the sky-obscuring ice blade attack, Uchiha Mukaku wielded his ninjutsu blade so densely that no air could pass through, creating an impenetrable defense of countless powerful wind blades around him. For a moment, the entire battlefield was filled with continuous crashing sounds, as Uchiha Mukaku's wind blade defense struck down all the incoming ice blades. Seeing the opponent's magnificent swordplay, Suksun showed an expression of disbelief. It was his first time seeing someone use ninjutsu taijutsu to counter his full-range, no blind spot attack. However, he quickly stabilized his emotions. Even if the opponent could defend against the sky-obscuring ice blades, he could not resist his next attack. As Uchiha Mukaku strenuously resisted, countless ice blades were struck down by his wind blades, and the shattered ice blades quickly scattered around him, forming a thick ice wall. By the time Uchiha Mukaku noticed this, it was already too late. An endless chill emanated from these ice blade remnants, instantly freezing the space where Uchiha Mukaku was completely. From the outside, Uchiha Mukaku looked like a mosquito sealed in a giant amber, frozen solid inside the ice block, unable to move. Seeing Uchiha Mukaku frozen by him, Suksun revealed a sinister smile. Terrifying cold air gathered in the sky, and then an even larger iceberg formed in midair. He mockingly raised his arm and then lowered it, and the giant iceberg floating in the air fell rapidly like a meteor, directly smashing towards the ice block that had frozen Uchiha Mukaku. This scene made Uchiha Mukaku a little stunned. If he were hit by the meteor-like giant iceberg, he, being frozen, would surely shatter into pieces along with the ice block that had frozen him. But now he couldn't move at all, not even perform ninjutsu, and could only watch helplessly as the giant iceberg fell like a meteor. The colossal iceberg, carrying immense force, slammed down like a doomsday judgment hammer onto the ice block that had frozen Uchiha Mukaku. The moment they collided, a deafening roar erupted, a sound like the angry roar of an ancient beast, echoing across the entire battlefield. At the point where the iceberg and ice block met, ice shards splashed outwards like a surging white tide, each shard glinting with a cold light, like countless sharp blades piercing through the air. For a moment, the entire space was filled with ice shards, and the sunlight was refracted into countless dazzling rays, weaving a dreamlike yet extremely dangerous ice painting. The force generated by the impact created concentric ripples of ice, spreading outwards from the point of collision. Wherever they reached, the ground was forcefully torn open with massive cracks, which resembled the mouths of greedy giant beasts, constantly devouring everything around them. The already dilapidated landscape of the battlefield became even more desolate. Huge rocks were shattered, trees were uprooted, and then instantly frozen in midair by flying ice shards, forming strange and terrifying ice sculptures. Under this powerful impact, the ice around Uchiha Mukaku, who was frozen, began to show dense cracks, which spread rapidly like a spider web, and his body also shattered along with the frozen ice block. Meanwhile, Suksun stood in the distance, his long white hair and the corners of his clothes fluttering violently in the ice shard-formed gale, his face bearing a cold and triumphant smile, as if he was admiring the apocalyptic scene he had created with his own hands. The commotion from their battle was simply too great. Even Might Guy and the others, who were hiding in a corner of the port, could sense it. Seeing the iceberg fall like a meteor, all three looked anxiously at the battlefield. For a special Jonin like Uchiha Mukaku, an opponent of this caliber seemed a bit too strong. Facing a ninjutsu attack of such magnitude, Might Guy and the other two even suspected that Uchiha Mukaku had perished, which put them in a dilemma: should they check on their captain, or continue with the mission? Just as they were agonizing over their decision, a new situation arose on the battlefield. The mist ninja, Suxin, looked in disbelief at the direction where Uchiha Mukaku's body lay. They saw the opponent's relatively intact head suddenly move, and a pair of hands extended from his mouth, followed by Uchiha Mukaku himself emerging from within. This ninjutsu, which stunned his opponent, was called the Orochimaru-style body replacement technique. It allowed the user to escape from their original body by shedding their skin, making it an extremely advanced body replacement technique, though it consumed a large amount of chakra. After Uchiha Mukaku emerged, covered in an unknown viscous liquid, his heart trembled slightly. Although this move was a life-saving trump card, the consumption of chakra was simply too great, even causing his body to feel uncomfortable. However, Suxin was unaware of this situation. Seeing Uchiha Mukaku stand up completely unharmed, he immediately launched an attack without a word. Long spears made entirely of ice instantly materialized around his body. Suxin merely moved his fingers slightly, and the ice spears flew out as if guided by his will, rushing towards Uchiha Mukaku. Facing the rapidly approaching spears, Uchiha Mukaku immediately dodged. After a period of battle, he had completely deciphered his opponent's attack patterns. These ice spears would undoubtedly unleash a large amount of cold air after hitting their target. As expected, after the ice spear struck the ground, it not only pierced through the hard concrete surface but also caused ice damage, directly freezing the surrounding objects. But Uchiha Mukaku had no time to be pleased with his foresight, as countless ice spears were relentlessly pursuing him with attacks. Sensing the sounds of battle and chakra fluctuations coming from the distant battlefield again, Might Guy and the other two finally breathed a sigh of relief. They hadn't expected Captain Uchiha Mukaku to be so formidable, able to survive a ninjutsu attack of that magnitude. He truly lived up to his reputation as a genius ninja of the Uchiha clan. Facing the enemy's continuous attacks, the harried Uchiha Mukaku had no time to launch conventional ninjutsu to counterattack. However, he had a method more effective than ninjutsu to deal with these flying projectiles. As Uchiha Mukaku fled, he pulled up his sleeve, revealing a wristband with a sealing jutsu. He touched the sealing jutsu on the wristband with both hands, and 4 Fuma shuriken appeared around him. This technique, called summoning, lightning sword transformation, was a B-rank ninja tool summoning jutsu. By simply touching the seal on his arm, he could instantly summon ninja tools. The Fuma shuriken were large, windmill-like shuriken with internal mechanisms, allowing them to freely transform into 2 forms, claw blade and windmill. Uchiha Mukaku grabbed the Fuma shuriken in midair with both hands, turned, and forcefully threw them out. Under his precise control, these Fuma shuriken directly collided with the incoming ice spears, altering their flight paths, and even causing them to collide with each other in midair. Furthermore, these Fuma shuriken were able to escape before the ice spears unleashed their cold air. This caused an extremely cold storm to erupt in the air behind Uchiha Mukaku. The cold air released by the ice spears caused the moisture in the air to condense into frost, temporarily affecting the opponent's observation vision. Just then, the Fuma shuriken thrown by Uchiha Mukaku arrived in front of Suxin. Facing these Fuma shuriken, which whistled through the air, Suxin immediately deployed his defense. He grabbed an ice spear that had already materialized beside him, performed a beautiful staff flourish in front of him, and then, in an instant, knocked down all 4 Fuma shuriken. Just as he thought his task was complete, these Fuma shuriken suddenly disintegrated in midair, and the scattered blades flew back from all directions. This made Suxin somewhat overwhelmed. He could only try his best to release cold air in all directions, freezing these flying Fuma shuriken fragments around him. Just as Suxin thought he was safe, he suddenly discovered that these Fuma shuriken fragments were actually connected by thin threads. He suddenly looked up and saw a huge fire dragon attacking along these threads. With a boom, fire release, dragon fire technique struck Suxin, who had no time to react. The shockwave generated by the fire release impact blew away the frozen Fuma shuriken fragments around him. Suxin himself was blasted far away by the huge fire dragon, and then engulfed by the raging flames. Just as Uchiha Mukaku thought he had succeeded, he found that the opponent's chakra signature had not weakened. In just the blink of an eye, the flames were dispersed by a massive burst of cold air. Suxin walked out of the cold air with a calm expression. As he moved forward, his ice armor regenerated, and by the time he had fully emerged from the cold air, his ice armor was as good as new. Seeing such a scene, Uchiha Mukaku also secretly marveled. His opponent's defense was simply too high. To withstand a direct hit from his dragon fire technique without a scratch was truly troublesome. Thinking of this, Uchiha Mukaku felt a bit dejected. He knew that his opponent hadn't even lasted a single round against Orochimaru-sensei, yet here he was, in a deadlock. He felt he was truly disgracing himself as a transmigrator. This made him very upset. Transmigrating to a dangerous world like Hokage was bad enough, but not even being given a single cheat was practically not giving him a way to live. To prevent the opponent from suddenly attacking him again, Suxin immediately released cold air, intending to create a huge circular ice barrier around him. Only in such a safe environment could he launch an attack without reservations. Seeing this situation, Uchiha Mukaku naturally wouldn't let his opponent have his way. He unhesitatingly pulled out several kunai with exploding tags attached and immediately threw them over. Dense explosions appeared in front of the ice barrier, but they only slightly slowed down the barrier's formation speed. By the time Uchiha Mukaku wanted to make another move, the huge circular ice barrier had already formed. Seeing the enemy's flawless defense, Uchiha Mukaku revealed a bitter smile. It seemed his attrition tactics had not worked at all. The opponent was still maintaining his second stage transformation. Facing this unfavorable situation, Uchiha Mukaku immediately grabbed a handful of military rations pills and stuffed them into his mouth to restore his body's energy and enhance his endurance. Uchiha Mukaku surveyed the spherical ice barrier around the mist ninja Suxin, estimating it was at least 10 meters thick. Moreover, this spherical structure could disperse attack power, making it impossible for ordinary ninjutsu to penetrate it. Just as Uchiha Mukaku was racking his brain for a countermeasure, the mist ninja unleashed the same technique he had used before. A lifelike ice crystal giant dragon, several hundred meters long, appeared on the battlefield. Seeing the enemy use this technique, Uchiha Mukaku was immediately dumbfounded. He never imagined he would see this ninjutsu again in his lifetime. At this moment, Might Guy, Ebisu, and Shiranui Genma, who were hidden in the shadows and preparing to destroy the port according to their plan, instantly froze their movements due to the sudden appearance of the ice crystal giant dragon. Might Guy's eyes widened. His face, usually full of passion and fighting spirit, was now filled with shock. His mouth was slightly agape, and his throat seemed to be choked by something. It was a while before he managed to squeeze out a sentence. This ninjutsu is too astonishing. Every scale of the giant dragon shimmered with dazzling cold light under the gecko, and its massive body seemed to blot out the sky and sun. Just the cold aura it emitted made Might Guy feel as if he were in an ice cellar. Ebisu's face turned pale, and his body involuntarily trembled slightly. The tools he had been gripping tightly for destroying the port facilities almost dropped due to his trembling. He swallowed, his voice somewhat hoarse as he said, "Can Captain Uchiha handle such a ninjutsu?" His gaze was fixed on the ice crystal giant dragon, his heart filled with worry, and his original focus on the mission was shattered by this sudden and shocking sight. Shiranui Genma was also speechless at the sight before him. His brows were tightly furrowed, and his eyes held deep apprehension. The immense power contained within the ice crystal giant dragon made him feel an invisible pressure. He gritted his teeth, secretly clenching his fists, and thought to himself, this hidden mist village truly has hidden masters. On the hidden mist ninja side, seeing such a massive and awe-inspiring ice crystal giant dragon appear again, their morale instantly soared. The ninja who had been slightly fatigued now had a burning fire rekindled in their eyes. A young mist ninja excitedly waved the weapon in his hand and shouted, "Look, Lord Suxin's ninjutsu. This time, Uchiha Mukaku will surely be defeated by the power of our hidden mist village." The surrounding mist ninja responded in unison, with cheers rising and falling. An experienced mist ninja, though not as excited and shouting as the younger ninja, had eyes filled with pride and relief. He crossed his arms over his chest, looked at the ice crystal giant dragon, and murmured, "Suxin, this kid, truly lived up to the village's expectations. With this ninjutsu, Uchiha Mukaku is probably in grave danger." The entire mist ninja team was as if injected with a strong stimulant. their fighting spirit was at its peak, and they were all anticipating the moment Uchiha Mukaku would be utterly defeated by the Ice Crystal Giant Dragon. As things stood, Uchiha Mukaku could only use the same technique he had used before, as he truly had no other trump cards to deal with ninjutsu of this scale. A blue Rasengan gradually formed in Uchiha Mukaku's palm, but this transformation was far from over. Such a small Rasengan could not cope with an ice dragon several hundred meters long. Uchiha Mukaku injected yin-natured chakra into the Rasengan. The moment the azure chakra was infused, the Rasengan immediately expanded, its diameter reaching half a person's height in the blink of an eye. Next, an even more astonishing change occurred. With the Rasengan as its core, yin-natured chakra constructed a massive spiral outer shell, like a giant drill. This massive drill rotated with the movement of the Rasengan chakra, its speed increasing from slow to fast. In just a blink, even the Sharingan, with its extremely strong dynamic vision, could barely discern its rotation speed. The scale of this yin release creation spiral sword was not as massive as when it was last used, because Uchiha Mukaku's body could not bear such heavy chakra. This current scale was already the limit of his activated physical vitality. Uchiha Mukaku held the yin release creation spiral sword with one hand, supporting his wrist with the other, feeling the surging chakra power within it. His eyes were filled with determination. Although this scale was not as large as last time, this was the strongest blow he could unleash now. Under the hidden mist ninja Suxan's control, the ice crystal giant dragon roared towards Uchiha Mukaku. Wherever it passed, the ground was covered in frost, and a cold aura spread like a surging tide. Uchiha Mukaku took a deep breath, pushed off the ground with force, and charged towards the ice crystal giant dragon like an arrow released from a bow. Come on! Uchiha Mukaku roared, and the yin release creation spiral sword in his hand collided with the ice crystal giant dragon. Instantly, a massive roar echoed, and strong energy fluctuations spread outwards from the point of impact. The surrounding trees were uprooted by this force, and huge cracks appeared in the ground. The cheers of the mist ninja came to an abrupt halt as they nervously watched the situation on the battlefield. Might Guy and the others also widened their eyes, silently praying for Uchiha Mukaku. At the moment of impact, the high-speed rotation of the spiral sword countered the tough body of the ice crystal giant dragon. Yin-natured chakra and ice attribute chakra eroded and cancelled each other out, creating a stalemate for a moment. Uchiha Mukaku gritted his teeth, injecting more chakra into the spiral sword. His body trembled slightly from the immense pressure, but his eyes remained firm, without any hint of retreat. Suxan also felt Uchiha Mukaku's stubborn resistance. He quickly formed hand seals, increasing the chakra supply to the ice crystal giant dragon. The ice crystal giant dragon's power suddenly increased. It opened its massive dragon mouth and bit towards the spiral sword. Seeing this, Uchiha Mukaku quickly adjusted the angle of the spiral sword, allowing the drill-shaped spiral sword to pierce directly into the dragon's mouth. The high-speed rotation of the spiral sword caused frantic destruction within the dragon's mouth, sending ice fragments flying everywhere. Ah, break for me! Uchiha Mukaku roared, injecting all his remaining chakra into the spiral sword. With a burst of dazzling light, the ice crystal giant dragon's head was shattered. The massive ice body lost control and began to collapse and disintegrate. Suxan suffered a ninjutsu backlash, spitting out a mouthful of blood, and staggering backward. The mist ninja's expressions turned very grim. They never imagined Uchiha Mukaku could break such a powerful ninjutsu. At this moment, the exhausted Uchiha Mukaku dared not rest. Instead, bathed in the flying ice shards, he held the last remnants of the yin release creation spiral sword with one hand and launched his final attack towards the enemy. Uchiha Mukaku, holding the yin release creation spiral sword with one hand, weaved through the remnants of the hundreds of meters of shattered ice crystal giant dragons, heading straight for the enemy who had protected himself within a spherical ice barrier. Seeing the enemy attacking his ice barrier with a weakened yin release creation spiral sword, Suxan, who had just recovered from his battle with the opponent, quickly forced himself to concentrate, preparing to control the surrounding ice to defend against the enemy's attack. Unfortunately, his speed was a bit slow. In a blink of an eye, Uchiha Mukaku, holding the yin release creation spiral sword, had drilled through several meters. This greatly shocked Suxan, and he immediately tried his best to repair his ice barrier, but even with all his might, he could only slow down the opponent's advance. Just as the two were only dozens of centimeters apart, the weakened yin release creation spiral sword in Uchiha Mukaku's hand suddenly collapsed. Seeing the look of surprise on Uchiha Mukaku's face, Suxin couldn't help but reveal a victor's smile. Immediately after, the entire ice barrier pressed towards Uchiha Mukaku, as if it could crush and freeze him at any moment. However, a smile suddenly appeared on Uchiha Mukaku's tired face. He murmured to himself, "You're happy too soon. I am a ninja of the Uchiha clan." As soon as he finished speaking, his black eyes were instantly replaced by blood-red pupils. Suxin, who was looking directly into his eyes, realized it was too late to look away. He had already fallen under Uchiha Mukaku's Sharingan Genjutsu. The moment Suxin fell into the Genjutsu, the ice pressing towards Uchiha Mukaku abruptly stopped. Uchiha Mukaku looked back at the completely blocked passage and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Facing the ice wall that was only dozens of centimeters thick, Uchiha Mukaku squeezed out chakra and activated fire release, Black Coffin. His flaming palm easily broke through this last distance, and he grabbed the opponent's neck. At this point, Uchiha Mukaku was too weak to maintain the ninjutsu and could only use brute force to twist the opponent's neck. At this moment, the Hidden Mist ninja observing the battlefield from outside also reacted. They passed through the remnants of the Ice Crystal Giant Dragon and happened to witness Uchiha Mukaku executing the Mist Ice Release Ninja Suxin. The Hidden Mist ninja's eyes were bloodshot. Their comrade Suxin being executed by Uchiha Mukaku filled their hearts with anger and hatred. They frantically attacked the ice barrier, various ninjutsu raining down on the ice wall. Water Release. Great Waterfall Technique. A Hidden Mist ninja roared, and a huge torrent of water surged out, fiercely impacting the ice barrier. Wind Release. Sickle Weasel Technique. Accompanied by another ninja's shout, sharp wind blades whistled, cutting the ice wall. Uchiha Mukaku, meanwhile, sat cross-legged inside the ice barrier, his eyes closed, rapidly recovering his chakra. The recent battle with Suxin had consumed too much of his energy, and he had to seize this rare opportunity. Fortunately, the ice barrier constructed by Suxin was very sturdy. It did not immediately shatter under the attacks of the Hidden Mist ninja. The attacks outside the barrier grew fiercer, and the ice wall was already covered in cracks, threatening to collapse at any moment. HMPH, Uchiha fellow, today is your death day. A Hidden Mist upper ninja said through gritted teeth. Finally, with a loud bang, the ice barrier was breached by the combined attacks of the Hidden Mist ninja. Fragments scattered everywhere, and ice mist filled the entire space. Uchiha Mukaku suddenly opened his eyes. He felt danger approaching. At this moment, his chakra had not fully recovered, but he knew that if he stayed here, only death awaited him. His figure flickered, and using the shattered ice as cover, he appeared at the edge of the battlefield. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. Seeing Uchiha Mukaku escape, the Hidden Mist ninja immediately launched an attack without a word. At this moment, Uchiha Mukaku, having recovered some stamina, immediately counterattacked. He exhaled a mass of high-temperature dust forward. This high-temperature dust rapidly spread, causing high-temperature damage to the Hidden Mist ninja. In just an instant, the Hidden Mist ninja's vision was obscured by the high-temperature dust exhaled by Uchiha Mukaku. Just as they were about to use ninjutsu to blow away the high-temperature dust, the dust suddenly underwent a terrifying dust explosion. This ninjutsu is called Fire Release. Ash Dust Concealing Technique, one of the few fire release ninjutsu that has the effect of obscuring the battlefield's vision. Might Guy and the other two, hidden in various corners of the port, immediately took action after seeing the signal sent by Uchiha Mukaku's Fire Release, Ash Dust Concealing Technique, and began to destroy the port. Might Guy moved like a nimble leopard, weaving through the buildings of the port. He tightly gripped the exploding tags, his target being the Hidden Mist ninja's fuel depot. His eyes were firm and fiery. This was a battle of life and death, allowing no room for error. Arriving near the fuel depot, Might Guy quickly placed exploding tags at critical points, his movements skilled and agile. Then, he pulled back a distance, formed a hand seal, and shouted, "Explode." With a loud bang, the fuel depot was instantly engulfed in flames, the shockwave of the explosion spreading outwards, and flames shot into the sky, illuminating the entire port's night sky. Shiranui Genma was not idle either. He moved like a shadow towards the wooden piles supporting the dock and the crane equipment. He also held exploding tags in his hand. He wanted to buy more escape time for Uchiha Mukaku. Upon reaching his target, he calmly set the exploding tags and then immediately detonated them. Instantly, the wooden piles were shattered, and the crane equipment collapsed with a roar in the explosion. Accompanied by the twisting sound of metal and the snapping of wood, a part of the dock began to sway precariously. Meanwhile, Ebisu stealthily approached the ships docked in the port. He knew the importance of ship anchors to these vessels. Once the anchors were destroyed, the ships would lose control. He carefully avoided the hidden mist ninja's sight and arrived next to one ship after another. He quickly tied exploding tags to the anchors and then lit the fuses. As the exploding tags detonated, the anchors were blown to pieces, and the ships began to sway on the water, some even slowly drifting away from the port. The hidden mist ninja were already in a frantic state due to Uchiha Mukaku's fire release, ash dust concealing technique, and then suddenly suffered multiple explosions at the port, causing their formation to fall into disarray. They tried to stop Might Guy and the other two's destructive actions, but the explosions and chaos made it difficult for them to organize effective resistance. At this moment, the four who had completed their mission unhesitatingly jumped directly into the calm waters of the port, and their figures vanished without a trace in a blink of an eye. This left the hidden mist ninja responsible for port security dumbfounded. However, they had no time to chase Uchiha Mukaku and the others. They could only organize firefighting efforts while arranging personnel to secure the drifting ships. The several people traveled along the waterway, and after arriving at where they had hidden their boat, they immediately set sail and headed north. Might Guy excitedly jumped around on the deck, waving his fists and shouting, "Haha, this mission was a huge success. Our coordination was absolutely perfect." Although Shiranui Genma wasn't jumping around with the same fervor as Might Guy, his eyes also sparkled with excitement. He said with a smile, "That's right, especially Uchiha Mukaku's fire release, ash dust concealing technique, which was used perfectly and created an excellent opportunity for us." Ebisu let out a long breath, looking like he had just survived a disaster, and leaned against the ship's rail, sighing, "Yes, at that moment I really thought we were going to be surrounded by those mist ninja. It's truly fortunate that we managed to escape successfully." At this time, Uchiha Mukaku, exhausted from overexertion, lay lazily on the boat, not wanting to speak. He merely opened his eyes slightly to glance at his excited companions, then slowly closed them again. Might Guy saw Uchiha Mukaku's appearance and moved closer to him, saying, "Uchiha Mukaku, you're truly amazing. If you hadn't held back those mist ninja at the front, how could we have completed the mission so easily? Get some good rest, and once you've recovered, we'll celebrate properly." Shiranui Genma also walked over and nodded, "That's right, Uchiha Mukaku, you were quite brave this time. However, you really expended too much, so resting well now is important." Ebisu followed up, "Yes, Uchiha Mukaku. Just rest assured, leave the rest to us. This time, we made the mist ninja suffer a great loss. They definitely wouldn't have expected us to complete the mission so smoothly and then leave." Uchiha Mukaku hummed softly, taking it as a response. He really didn't have the strength to speak. However, he was also relieved by the success of this mission, as it was the result of everyone's concerted efforts. Might Guy then turned back to the deck, looking north, and said with anticipation, "I wonder what challenges await us ahead, but no matter what, as long as we work together like today, there's nothing to fear." Shiranui Genma and Ebisu exchanged a smile, their eyes filled with anticipation for the future. Meanwhile, Uchiha Mukaku gradually fell asleep in the cabin amidst the joyful laughter of his companions. His body needed good recovery to cope with any situations that might arise next. Shortly after Uchiha Mukaku and the others destroyed the Hidden Mist Village's important supply port, the third Mizukage received the news. His mood was like the overcast weather outside, as if a heavy rain could fall at any moment. However, the third Mizukage knew that this was not the time for a furious outburst, because with the supply route cut off, the Hidden Mist Village's front line was already in a precarious situation. Therefore, the third Mizukage immediately summoned the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, intending to have them infiltrate the Konoha defense line to create chaos, so that the Hidden Mist Village's main forces could safely retreat. The 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist is a hereditary title in the Land of Water's Hidden Mist Village. These 7 individuals are not only the elite of the Hidden Mist, but each is also equipped with a unique ninja blade suited to their own ninjutsu. Legend has it that if the 7 of them combine forces, they can conquer a small country in a single night. They are an elite unit specifically tasked with high-difficulty missions by successive Mizukage. The third Mizukage stood in the dim meeting hall. Under the faint yellow light, his face was as stern as a rock. A suppressive atmosphere permeated the meeting hall, the air seemed to have become heavy. Soon, Biwa Juzo, Suikazan Fuguki, Kuriare Kushimaru, Amayuri Ringo, Munashi Jinpachi, Kurosuke Raiga, and the other 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist successively walked into the meeting hall. Each of their steps carried a unique rhythm, like harbingers of death quietly approaching. Biwa Juzo was the first to step in, his eyes as sharp as an eagle's, and the ninja blade on his back exuded a cold aura. He bowed slightly and said in a low voice, "Mizukuji-sama, we are here." Suikazan Fuguki took heavy steps, his muscles trembling slightly with his movement, and Samahata on his back seemed to come alive. He said in a booming voice, "Mizukuji-sama, this summons must be for something important." Kuriare Kushimaru played with the long sword in his hand, a chillingly playful smile on his face. "Oh. Is it to teach those Konoha guys a lesson?" Amayuri Ringo stood ramrod straight, her eyes revealing a calm killing intent. "Whatever the mission, we will complete it." Munashi Jinpachi snorted, the sound like it came from an ice cellar. "Those Konoha guys, it's time they learned the consequences of offending the hidden mist." Kurosuke Raiga's white hair was particularly striking in the dim light. He crossed his arms. "Mizukuji-sama, just give the order." The third Mizukuji swept his gaze over everyone and slowly spoke, his voice low and serious. "The Leaf Ninja have destroyed our important supply port, and now the front line is teetering. I want you to infiltrate the Konoha defense line, create chaos, and attract Konoha's attention, so that our main forces can safely retreat. You are the elite of the Hidden Mist, and this mission concerns the safety of the Hidden Mist. You must not be careless." Biwa Juzo's mouth curved slightly upwards. "Rest assured, Mizukuji-sama, we will make those Konoha guys run ragged." Suikazan Fuguki stroked Samahata, grinning, "That Konoha defense line will be like paper in front of us." Kuriare Kushimaru licked his lips, a bloodthirsty glint flashing in his eyes. "I can't wait to try my new ninjutsu on Konoha's land." Amayuri Ringo tightened his grip on his ninja blade. "We will make Konoha remember the power of the Hidden Mist." Munashi Jinpachi burst out laughing. "This will be a massacre." Kurosuke Raiga's gaze was firm. "The 7 of us working together will surely complete the mission." The third Mizukuji nodded slightly. "Go forth, and do not disappoint the Hidden Mist's expectations of you." The 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist responded in unison, "Yes." Then, they turned and swiftly ran towards the Konoha defense line with chilling killing intent. Their figures quickly disappeared into the darkness outside the meeting hall, leaving only the third Mizukuji standing there, his eyes revealing a hint of worry and anticipation. Just as the third Mizukuji dispatched the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, Uchiha Mukaku and his 3 companions were soaking in the natural hot springs of the Valley of Hot Water. Seeing his leader enjoying himself, Ebisu cautiously asked, "Captain, we've completed the mission, but instead of returning to report, we're soaking in hot springs here. Isn't this a bit inappropriate?" Uchiha Mukaku took off the towel from his head and said, "This is called making good use of our time." Then, he looked at his 2 other teammates, who looked uneasy, and could only sigh, "Since you don't have such leisure, then let's just head back." Uchiha Mukaku led Might Guy and the other 2, quietly taking a detour from Taki country back to the Land of Fire. They were completely unaware that the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist had already received orders from the third Mizukuji and were causing chaos and destruction along the Konoha front lines. As the 4 gradually approached Konoha Ninja Village, Uchiha Mukaku suddenly felt a chilling sensation spread across his back. He abruptly turned his head, only to see 7 ninjas sitting calmly in the forest behind him. Uchiha Mukaku's face instantly turned pale, and he regretted his carelessness, having thought they were safe within the Land of Fire's borders, yet unexpectedly falling into an enemy's carefully laid encirclement. Just by seeing the uniquely shaped ninja swords on their backs, he could accurately identify who these people were. Shiranui Genma's voice was suppressed and low. "This is bad, we're surrounded, there's no way to escape now." Ebisu also said with a trembling voice, "Those are the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist." Biwa Juzo, however, casually joked, "I didn't expect the kids from other villages to know about us, it seems our reputation is quite widespread." Ha 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 ha. The companions of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist then burst into a wild, triumphant laughter. Immediately after, one of them drew out a large sword from behind him, as massive as a door panel, and said triumphantly to the 4, "Oh, there's a small chip on this sword, it needs to drink some blood to restore itself." Uchiha Mukaku stared intently at the Kubikiri Bocho in the opponent's hand, his expression grave. He knew that this sword could absorb iron elements from the enemy's blood to regenerate itself, while also restoring the wielder's stamina. He mused to himself that he was already struggling to deal with just one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. If all 7 of them swarmed him, he would surely die today. Shiranui Genma whispered in despair, "What do we do? With just us, we're no match for them." Just at this critical moment, Uchiha Mukaku suddenly sensed a surging, powerful chakra rapidly approaching. He quickly looked up, only to see Maeda Dai, radiating a strong green chakra glow all over his body, descending from the sky like a god. As this middle-aged father in a jumpsuit landed, he said with relief, "Good, I made it in time." Might Guy's eyes widened, and he shouted in disbelief at the back in front of him, "Dad! Dad, what are you doing here as a genin?" Maeda Dai didn't look back, his tone firm and unequivocal. "Don't say anything, you guys run, I'll hold them off." Might Guy repeated in disbelief, "We run. Dad, they are all jonin, and they're the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, how can you fight them alone?" "I have the gate of death, 8 gates formation." Maeda Dai's voice was low, but filled with a determination to die. But that move, Might Guy still found it incredible. "Self-restraint, now is the time to protect what's most important with my life," Maeda Dai said resolutely. The conversation between the two made the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist on the opposite side a bit impatient, and Kuriare Kushimaru shouted impolitely, "Since you're here, no one is leaving." Uchiha Mukaku immediately ordered in a decisive tone, "Might Guy, Shiranui Genma, and Ebisu, I order you to retreat to a safe distance immediately." However, before Uchiha Mukaku's words had even finished, Kuriare Kushimaru, wearing a mask and clutching his ninja sword Nuibari, lunged towards them like a bolt of lightning. A Konoha Genin. At this moment, Munashi Jinpachi's laughter came from behind. "This kind of chakra isn't even worthy of being a fuse for the Bakudo Shibuki." Facing the attacking 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, Maeda Dai knew that only by directly releasing the Gate of Death of the 8 Gates formation could he gain the power to defeat the enemy and protect his son. In that flash, Maeda Dai unhesitatingly opened the Gate of Death of the 8 Gates formation. In an instant, a powerful force, as if capable of destroying heaven and earth, surged out of his body like a volcanic eruption. His body was instantly enveloped in a thick, almost solid red chakra, as if he had transformed into an invincible god of war in an instant. Maeda Dai stomped his foot, and with a loud boom, the ground instantly cracked like a spiderweb, and he himself shot towards Kuriare Kushimaru like a cannonball out of a barrel. Kuriare Kushimaru only felt a blur before his eyes, and a red light and shadow were already upon him. He had no time to react. Maeda Dai's fist, carrying the power to destroy heaven and earth, heavily struck Kuriare Kushimaru's abdomen. The force of this punch was so immense that Kuriare Kushimaru was sent flying like a weightless ragdoll. His body arced through the air for a long time, then with a boom, he crashed heavily into a thick tree. The tree, unable to withstand the impact, was snapped in half, and broken branches and leaves splattered everywhere. But even so, Kuriare Kushimaru's body did not stop. He shot through the forest like an arrow released from a bow, and every tree in his flight path was snapped in half by the powerful impact. Kuriare Kushimaru's tragic fate frightened the other 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Who exactly was this opponent, capable of causing such widespread destruction with just one punch, and why had they never heard of him before? Only Uchiha Mukaku knew the true power of the 8 Gates formation, which was also why he had his teammates retreat to a safe distance. Although shocked by the opponent's immense strength, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist would not sit idly by. They immediately reacted, preparing for a desperate battle with the enemy. Maeda Dai didn't hesitate for a moment. With a nimble turn in midair, he lunged towards Amayuri Ringo. Seeing this, Amayuri Ringo was greatly alarmed and quickly gripped the ninja sword in her hands tightly, swinging it forcefully towards Maeda Dai, trying to block his attack. The ninja sword in her hand was called the Kabutowari, a blade that could shatter all defenses. Although called a ninja sword, Amayuri Ringo's weapon was actually a combination of a hammer and an axe. However, in the face of Maeda Dai's immense power after opening the Gate of Death, the Kabutowari's defense was as fragile as thin paper, unable to withstand a single blow. Maeda Dai's life-burning fist easily shattered the axe and hammer crossed over her chest, and then his fist slammed into Amayuri Ringo's chest. This punch carried a whistling wind. Amayuri Ringo felt as if her chest had been struck by a mountain, and her entire body was sent flying backward like a cannonball. With just one strike, Amayuri Ringo's chest completely caved in, and blood gushed from her mouth like a fountain, spraying a mist of blood into the air. At this moment, Munashi Jinpachi, seeing his comrade under attack, widened his eyes and quickly drew his ninja tool from behind, attempting to ambush Might Dai from the side. Might Dai seemed to have eyes in the back of his head. He slightly shifted his body and easily dodged Munashi Jinpachi's sneak attack. At the same time, Might Dai took the opportunity to kick towards Munashi Jinpachi's wrist. However, Might Dai suffered a disadvantage due to his lack of intelligence on the opponent. The exploding tag on Munashi Jinpachi's hand instantly extended, and many exploding tags appeared. Facing the suddenly appearing exploding tags, Might Dai's pupils constricted, and he forcibly controlled his movements, wanting to escape the attack range of the exploding tags. Unfortunately, it was too late. A brilliant explosion instantly unfolded, and Might Dai was blown away by the shockwave generated by the exploding tag explosion. Fortunately, his body was protected by blood-red chakra, so he did not suffer any obvious damage. Even so, Might Dai's situation was not optimistic. Although his body had been tempered for a long time, it was still difficult for him to bear the power of the Eight Gates formation's Gate of Death. His skin was cracking inch by inch, as if his life would burn out at any moment. Just then, the owner of Haramakere had finished charging, and a huge chakra light orb was released from the blade, striking Might Dai like a meteor. Although the chakra light orb was extremely fast, Might Dai, who had opened the Eight Gates formation's Gate of Death, was even faster. He easily dodged Haramakere's attack. The chakra light orb hit the trees in the forest, and a huge explosion immediately occurred, with a terrifying shockwave uprooting the surrounding trees and leaving deep grooves on the flat ground. Might Dai, having dodged, did not even look at the effect of the opponent's attack. Instead, he threw an ordinary punch towards Munashi Jinpachi in the distance. In an instant, a terrifying shockwave formed, directly passing through space and sending Munashi Jinpachi, who couldn't react in time, flying. His body violently collided with the tree trunk behind him. Subsequently, he and the towering tree behind him were both sent flying by the shockwave generated by Might Dai's punch. This move was both fast and ruthless. Munashi Jinpachi felt a sharp pain in his chest, and the ninja tool in his hand involuntarily flew out. Might Dai, burning with red steam, arrived in front of Munashi Jinpachi with dazzling speed, followed by another punch. This punch struck Munashi Jinpachi's face like lightning. With a crack sound, Munashi Jinpachi's skull shattered, his head was torn from his body by the immense force, and the shattered skull disappeared from sight like a meteor. His body flew backward like a broken kite, heavily crashing to the ground, raising a cloud of dust, and then lay motionless there. This proud seven ninja swordsman of the mist could no longer utter a single sarcastic remark and rested in peace forever. This ultimate punch sent shivers down the spines of the remaining seven ninja swordsmen of the mist. What kind of monster was this? The Hidden Mist's elite Jonin couldn't even last a single round against him. Biwa Juzo, Suikazan Fuguki, and Kurosuke Raiga were greatly alarmed when they saw Might Dai's fearless bravery. They knew in their hearts that continuing the fight would likely lead to more misfortune. The three exchanged glances, instantly reaching a tacit understanding, and decisively prepared to flee. Biwa Juzo initiated the attack first, instantly unleashing water release, great waterfall technique. The surging water flow, like a breached dam, rushed towards Might Dai's position with a huge roar. Facing this water release ninjutsu, which was powerful enough to change the terrain, Might Dai had no intention of dodging, because he had to seize the time. He didn't know how much longer his body could last. Another seemingly ordinary straight punch, a terrifying shockwave was transmitted in the direction his arm pointed, and the surging torrent was directly punched through by Might Dai. Seeing the opponent's terrifying attack power, Biwa Juzo had no time to dodge and block the door-like ninja tool in front of him, but unfortunately, he still underestimated the power of Might Dai's punch. He, along with his blade, was sent flying by Might Dai's punch. Not only did Kubikiri Bocho fail to absorb human blood to repair itself, but it was shattered by Might Dai's punch. At this moment, the mist ninja controlling Haramakere was about to repeat his old trick but found Might Dai's gaze turning towards him, which sent shivers down his spine, and his attack movements slowed down. Might Dai once again lifted his leg in an ordinary manner, and a terrifying shockwave flew towards the mist ninja using Haramakere like a vacuum cannon. At this time, Haramakere's chakra light orb had also been launched, but this chakra light orb, capable of changing the terrain, was vulnerable in front of Might Dai's vacuum cannon. The powerful air pressure directly pushed it back. The powerful destructive force instantly took the life of the Haramakare user. The opponent's body was cut into two by Haramakare's huge blade, the lower half buried in the mud, and the upper half flew high, carried away by the powerful shockwave to an unknown location. This isn't taijutsu. Kurosuke Raiga's lightning blade. Fang sparked with electricity, but it completely failed to hit the super-fast opponent. He couldn't help but cry out in fear, "This is a monster." Dodging the lightning released by lightning blade, Fang, Might Day's gaze locked onto Kurosuke Raiga, and he thought to himself, "You're next." Just then, the ground suddenly trembled. Might Day looked up and saw endless waves surging in the forest. The scale of this ninjutsu was several times that of water release, great waterfall technique. The towering giant waves devoured everything in their path like primeval beasts. The ancient trees that originally covered the sky were like toothpicks in the mouth of a monster in front of them, easily uprooted. Such a large-scale attack, like a natural disaster, was impossible to dodge. Might Day had to abandon his previous target and turn to unleash the strongest blow of the Eight Gates Formation's Gate of Death towards the surging waves. Might Day burned his entire body's blood even more frantically, generating an even more massive blood-red steam on his body surface. His fists rapidly swung in front of him like lightning, creating countless afterimages, and the terrifying air cannons, exceeding the speed of sound, roared out. The air cannons, like angry flood dragons, rushed towards the towering tsunami with an all-destroying momentum. The moment the air cannons met the tsunami, a deafening roar erupted. The surging waves seemed to be blocked by an invisible giant hand. The wave crests were instantly flattened by the powerful force of the air cannons, and the huge water wall rippled under the impact of the air cannons. Then, like a shattered mirror, water splashed everywhere. The air cannons continuously pushed forward, each one containing enough power to destroy mountains. The waves of the tsunami were constantly torn apart and pulverized, turning into a sky full of water mist. The giant waves, originally capable of submerging everything, gradually lost their power under the continuous attack of the air cannons and began to retreat step by step. Around Might Day's body, the blood-red chakra grew more intense. He was like a tireless god of war, continuously outputting power. His eyes were firm and resolute. Although his body was already at its limit, his will was as hard as steel. As the last air cannon was launched, the tsunami, which had been like a primeval beast, was finally completely disintegrated. Only a sky full of water mist remained in the forest, and sunlight streamed through the mist, forming brilliant rainbows. But Might Day did not relax at all. He knew that there were still enemies waiting for him, and he had to continue fighting until his son and comrades were safe. Uchiha Mukaku and Might Day, along with the other two, stared at the resolute back enveloped in blood-red steam, their faces filled with disbelief. Anyone who witnessed such an extraordinary display of taijutsu would be this astonished. On the other side, even after seeing Maida Day so brutally destroy the tsunami raised by Suikazan Fuguki, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist had no intention of fleeing directly. After all, they still had 3.5 fighting forces at the moment. Juzo was only injured and had lost his weapon, but he had not died. Although his combat power was minimal, he could at least still serve as a target. The steaming crimson vapor was consuming Maida Day's life every moment. He felt incredibly heavy, and his eyelids were so heavy they felt like they would close at any second. However, upon seeing the remaining members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, his fighting will reignited. His son was not yet out of danger, and he absolutely could not fall like this. He had to eliminate at least one more enemy. He let out a mighty roar, trying to boost his spirits, and then, dragging his tottering body, launched a fierce attack. His red body instantly swept across the battlefield. Maida Day appeared before the owner of Haramakare in a flash and, without a word, kicked the unprepared mist ninja flying. Kicked in the chest and abdomen by Maida Day, who had activated the 8 Gates Formation's Gate of Death, the owner of Haramakare's chest immediately caved in, his ribs twisted, piercing through his skin, revealing white bones. Following this, his entire body was carried by the powerful impact, plowing a several-kilometer-long gully through the forest before he lay there motionless, devoid of life. After Maida Day killed the owner of Haramakare, the morale of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist collapsed. The remaining 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist immediately turned around. Juzo dashed into the depths of the forest like a black lightning bolt, and Suikazan Fuguki and Kurosuke Raiga followed suit without hesitation. Their figures quickly vanished into the dense forest. Maida Day looked at the 3 fleeing individuals, a surge of impulse to pursue them welling up in his heart, but his body had already reached its limit. The dazzling chakra light on his body began to flicker unsteadily, like a candle flame about to extinguish, and then slowly dissipated. Maeda-Day's legs gave out, and he knelt on one knee, gasping for air, his forehead covered in large beads of sweat that continuously slid down his cheeks. Might Guy looked at his father's exhausted back, his heart filled with both admiration and heartache. He knew his father had risked his life to protect them. Uchiha Mukaku, Might Guy, Shiranui Genma, and Ebisu rushed to Maeda-Day's side, their eyes full of gratitude and respect. Uchiha Mukaku softly said, "Mr. Dai, thank you." Maeda-Dai raised his head, revealing a weak but incredibly relieved smile. "It's nothing, as long as you all are safe." With that, the blood-red chakra steam disappeared from his body, and Maeda-Day's body turned as black as charcoal, devoid of life. Maeda-Day's sacrifice plunged everyone present into deep sorrow. Might Guy knelt beside his father, tears silently falling, his hands tightly gripping his father's now cold hand, his heart filled with endless gratitude and reluctance. Uchiha Mukaku, Shiranui Genma, and Ebisu stood by, tears glistening in their eyes. Although Maeda-Dai had departed, his bravery and selflessness would forever be etched in everyone's hearts. After a brief silence, Uchiha Mukaku was the first to break it. "Might Guy, we need to arrange Mr. Day's funeral." His voice was low and firm. Although he was equally grieved, he knew now was not the time to wallow in sadness. Might Guy took a deep breath, trying to calm his emotions, then nodded and stood up. "Father always taught us to be strong. I cannot disappoint him." Together, they carefully buried Maeda-Day's remains nearby and placed the weapons of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist on the grave to commemorate Maeda-Day's achievements. 3 days later, Uchiha Mukaku sat distractedly in his living room. Whenever he had a moment of leisure, he would recall the scene of Mr. Day's battle. In that battle against the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, he did not intend to be a bystander, but with his strength, he simply could not keep up with Maeda-Day's pace after he activated the 8 Gates formation's Gate of Death. This made him feel ashamed of his weakness and also made him realize that in the ninja world, a large amount of chakra was king. Seeing his son sitting blankly at the table, Uchiha Yukio sat opposite him and softly asked, "What's wrong?" "Still thinking about what happened a few days ago?" "Yes, I often feel very powerless," Uchiha Mukaku replied weakly. "Since you've realized your insignificance, then you should become stronger." Uchiha Yukio patted his son's head and then smiled. "You must not think that way. You have always been my pride. If you're tired, rest for a while. I'll find a way to transfer you back to the Konoha military police force." Uchiha Mukaku shook his head firmly. He still wanted to gain experience on the battlefield and temper his will. Seeing his son's stubbornness, Uchiha Yukio changed the subject and asked, "Do you know why I named you Mukaku? Wasn't it just picked randomly?" Uchiha Mukaku looked up and asked in return. "Of course not," Uchiha Yukio denied, then explained, "It's a Buddhist term, meaning pure and undefiled, often referring to a pure heart. But I don't interpret it that way." Looking into his son's eyes, Uchiha Yukio slowly said, "First, your grandfather has been imprisoned to this day because of his rebellion, so this name is to hope that you do not inherit the sins of your ancestors. Second, I hope that you will never be troubled by worries in your life, that your heart will be pure and undefiled, and that you will be a free-spirited person." Hearing his father's explanation, Uchiha Mukaku said with a wry smile, "Sorry, I've disappointed you. I usually love to scheme. No need to apologize, that's just my wishful thinking, and I also said, you have always been my pride, and that's not a lie," Uchiha Yukio replied with a smile. Seeing his father's gentle smile, Uchiha Mukaku felt a bit flustered. He lowered his gaze and asked, "What are we eating tonight?" "Let's go out for a big meal. Eating delicious food can make people happy, right?" Uchiha Yukio asked with a smile. Then, he patted his son's shoulder and whispered, "I've saved quite a bit of money over the years, enough for the rest of our lives even if we stop being ninja." Uchiha Mukaku smiled and responded, "I've saved quite a bit of money too. It seems our family's genes are good. I wonder if Grandpa also saved a large sum of money. Maybe, I don't know either." Uchiha Yukio said with a smile, urging, "Go wash your face, change your clothes, we're going out." The next day, Maeda-Day's death led to the disbandment of the newly formed squad Uchiha Mukaku was in, to account for Might Guy's feelings. With nothing to do, Uchiha Mukaku was fishing by a small stream near Konoha Ninja Village. However, he was restless. The entire morning passed without a single catch. his bucket was empty, and his heart felt as if a piece was missing. Just as he was contemplating whether to head home, Uchiha Shisui's voice drifted over, "What's this? Not even a single fish. HMPH, what do you know? This is a form of training too." Uchiha Mukaku retorted stubbornly. "Haha, that's not like you." Uchiha Shisui replied with a laugh. Uchiha Mukaku stared at the water, slowly saying, "I'm just a bit lost. This world is so chaotic, just finding your footing is incredibly difficult, and changing your fate is simply a pipe dream." Shisui sat down beside him and asked, "Did Mr. Day's death affect you that much? You're usually so positive." "There are other reasons." Uchiha Mukaku did not reveal the truth. Shisui was unaware of the tragic fate of the Uchiha clan in the future. Uchiha Mukaku wasn't being sentimental, rather, the power of world-line correction filled him with fear. He had clearly crippled the Hidden Mist ninjas' front lines and altered the entire battlefield situation, yet the invasion of Konoha by the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist still occurred. How could he feel at ease? He feared that even if he made the most correct response, the world line would still ruthlessly converge and correct itself. The fear and loneliness of knowing the future but being unable to speak of it were tormenting Uchiha Mukaku's mind. After a long silence, Uchiha Mukaku asked, "How have you been doing lately?" "I'm swamped every day, the Anbu missions are increasing," Uchiha Shisui complained, lying on the grass. "That's how war is. Actually, I'm fine, I just wanted to clear my head for a bit," Uchiha Mukaku explained, holding his fishing rod. "I just came to check on you. You're much more emotionally stable than I imagined," Uchiha Shisui said sincerely. "It's rare to hear praise from you. You ungrateful fellow," Uchiha Shisui replied with dissatisfaction, then lay down on the grass and fell asleep. Uchiha Mukaku looked at the sleeping Shisui and murmured to himself, "When you're on holiday, rest well and worry less." After saying that, he covered Shisui with a thin blanket. It wasn't until the sun set that Uchiha Shisui woke from his deep sleep. He glanced at the thin blanket on him, then at the empty bucket, and couldn't help but chuckle. This made the nearby Uchiha Mukaku a bit embarrassed and annoyed. He picked up his fishing rod with one hand, the bucket with the other, and walked towards home without looking back. Looking at his friend bathed in the afterglow of the sunset, Uchiha Shisui smiled. This guy can still get flustered and angry, so it seems there's nothing wrong with his mental state. "Wait a moment, take this." Uchiha Shisui's voice came from behind. Uchiha Mukaku took a cloth bag. Before he could ask, he heard Shisui shout, "This is a gift to celebrate you becoming a special Jonin." On his way back, Uchiha Mukaku was stopped by acquaintances again. On closer inspection, it was Morino Ibiki and Toko. He asked curiously, "Why are you two here?" Morino Ibiki and Toko greeted him happily, "Boss, we just returned from an outside mission." "Oh, and congratulations on becoming a special Jonin." After speaking, Morino Ibiki pulled a package from his waist and handed it to Uchiha Mukaku, saying, "This is our gift, boss." Uchiha Mukaku was a bit surprised and smiled as he accepted the gift, saying, "Thanks." "Well, we're off, boss, we still have a dinner gathering soon." With that, the two left with light steps. Watching them depart, Uchiha Mukaku put away the package and continued walking home with his empty bucket. Uchiha Mukaku's appearance with the empty bucket caught the attention of the shop owners in the Uchiha clan commercial street. "Oh, isn't that Mukaku? Why the empty bucket?" the fish shop owner called out loudly, his voice full of warmth, without a hint of mockery. Uchiha Mukaku scratched his head a bit sheepishly, "My luck wasn't so good today." The fish shop owner laughed heartily, "Young man, that's how fishing is sometimes. Here, take these few fish to try, they were just caught, very fresh." As he spoke, the owner, without a word, put several plump fish into Uchiha Mukaku's bucket. "How can I accept this, boss?" Uchiha Mukaku quickly declined. "What's there to be embarrassed about? You're a genius of our Uchiha clan. We'll be counting on you to look after us old folks in the future," the owner said with a smile, pushing the bucket back into Uchiha Mukaku's hands. Before Uchiha Mukaku could react, the butcher also came over. "Mukaku, eating only fish won't do, take some meat too." With that, he cut a large piece of tender meat, wrapped it in a lotus leaf, and placed it in the bucket. "Boss, thank you so much," Uchiha Mukaku said gratefully. The owner of the pastry shop also walked out of her store, holding a box of exquisite pastries. "Mukaku, These are the pastries I just made, they're delicious, take them home for afternoon tea. She gently placed the pastries on top of the bucket. Uchiha Mukaku looked at the bucket full of food, his heart filled with emotion. Thank you, everyone, you're all too kind. This child, why are you being so polite with us? You work so hard for the village and for the clan every day, these little things are all we can do, the pastry shop owner said gently. Uchiha Mukaku's eyes were a little moist. In this world full of pressure and unknowns, the concern of his clansmen was like a warm light. I will definitely work even harder and not let down everyone's expectations. The surrounding shop owners smiled with relief. Uchiha Mukaku carried the heavy bucket, held large and small packages, and, with everyone's care and blessings, walked towards home, his figure appearing exceptionally determined in the sunset. Uchiha Mukaku returned home and placed the items given by the people from the commercial street on the table, falling into a trance. The candlelight cast dancing shadows on the clan emblem scroll, the intertwined fan patterns like shackles wrapped in his bloodline. Mukaku's fingers gently traced the gifts on the table, still warm from the market. In his mind, he saw the expectant eyes of the Uchiha clan members as they gave their gifts. What am I truly afraid of? He murmured softly towards the ancestral shrine. The books on the altar suddenly moved without a breeze. I am not here for failure. A person can be destroyed, but they must never lose the courage to defy fate. Thinking of this, Uchiha Mukaku's eyes became even more determined. At this moment, Uchiha Mukaku's spirit transformed into that of a true strong person. The next morning, Uchiha Mukaku was diligently training in the yard when he suddenly heard an eagle's cry from the sky, which was the emergency assembly signal for special Jonin from Konoha Ninja Village. Uchiha Mukaku put down his training equipment without hesitation and rushed to the assembly point lightly. Along the way, he saw many Jonin and special Jonin who were still in the village, all rushing towards the Hokage building. Soon, the Jonin and special Jonin of Konoha Ninja Village had gathered in the Hokage office. Third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi stood before everyone, his expression grave, and said, "Just this morning, a Hyuga clan ninja from the main family was attacked by Mist Ninja, and their Byakugan might have already been taken by the enemy." These words greatly shocked everyone present. The Byakugan was a strategic intelligence tool controlled by Konoha Ninja Village, a living radar, capable of rewriting the dimensions of war. Possessing the Byakugan meant having full area perspective and long-range insight, which was of extraordinary significance on the battlefield. It could render traditional ambushes, tunnel warfare, and camouflage techniques completely useless, forcing the enemy to abandon stealth tactics and thus fall into a passive state. The value of the Byakugan was not only reflected in individual combat capabilities but also in its redefinition of the information dimension of war. Once the fog of the battlefield was completely dispelled, even the most ingenious tactics would become futile. This was why the ninja present were greatly alarmed when they heard that the Byakugan might have fallen into the hands of the Mist Ninja. To be honest, given the Byakugan's immense utility on the battlefield, it was something countries would contend for even if it meant war, and it was also the core reason why Konoha always listed the Hyuga clan as a strategic protection resource. Seeing everyone's panicked expressions, Third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi immediately spoke to quell the noise in the room, saying, "The Hyuga clan's Byakugan being taken by the Mist Ninja is a huge challenge to Konoha's safety and dignity. The purpose of gathering everyone here today is to launch a Byakugan retrieval battle." The Hokage's words caused the ninja in the room to start discussing animatedly. Everyone understood the Byakugan's importance to Konoha and was well aware of how troublesome the Mist Ninja were. At this moment, Uchiha Mukaku stepped forward, ignoring Danzo Shimura's obstructing and oppressive gaze, and calmly spoke, "Hokage-sama, I think this is an impossible mission." Seeing Uchiha Mukaku immediately reject his proposal, Third Hokage's eye twitched slightly. This kid actually questioned his decision. Before Hiruzen could react, his political ally Danzo Shimura stepped forward, his face contorted in a sneer, and demanded, "What do you mean? Are you suggesting we do nothing about the loss of the Byakugan and the death of the Hyuga clan ninja?" Uchiha Mukaku ignored his questioning and continued, "The Hyuga clan ninja have always been protected as strategic targets by Konoha Ninja. Since the enemy was able to seize the Byakugan, it means the Mist Ninja have been plotting for a long time, and perhaps the Byakugan that was taken is already on its way back to the Mist Village." Although Uchiha Mukaku disagreed with his opinion, his rebuttal was well reasoned, and Third Hokage was not a narrow-minded person. He nodded slightly, signaling Uchiha Mukaku to continue. Instead, Danzo Shimura, who had been ignored, was furious. His sole remaining eye seemed to bulge from its socket as he roared, "Uchiha Mukaku, do you even have any respect for a Konoha advisor?" Seeing Danzo Shimura causing trouble, 3rd Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, prioritizing the overall situation, spoke to stop him. "Danzo, let him continue." Uchiha Mukaku took a deep breath and slowly said, "The hidden mist ninja, having seized the Byakugan, must have prepared for Konoha ninja's retaliation, and the hidden mist front line will certainly be heavily guarded. Therefore, I suggest we first dispatch the existing forces from the village to engage and tie down the main force of the hidden mist ninja on the front line. And on the other hand, we secretly send cage-level experts to raid the undefended hidden mist village. This way, their main base in the rear will be attacked, and their formation will inevitably fall into disarray. Even if we cannot recover the Byakugan, we can still eliminate a large number of their combat forces." His words plunged the room into a brief silence, and some ninja began to consider the feasibility of this plan. Danzo Shimura snorted coldly. "Mukaku, your plan is too risky. If a cage-level expert goes deep into the hidden mist village and is discovered, they might not return. Moreover, if there's no cage-level expert holding the line at the front, how can we tie down the hidden mist's main force?" Uchiha Mukaku responded neither subserviently nor arrogantly. "Danzo-sama, we can select cage-level experts skilled in stealth and high mobility to carry out the raid mission. As for the front line, we can rely on the combined cooperation of numerous Jonin and special Jonin, using tactics to contend with the hidden mist. Although the hidden mist is strong, once their main force is diverted, their rear will inevitably be vulnerable. This is an excellent opportunity." Hiruzen stroked his beard and, after a moment of thought, said, "Mukaku's plan has some merit, but it also carries significant risks. We need to plan in more detail, such as which cage-level experts to send and how to specifically deploy tactics on the front line." The other ninja nodded in agreement and began discussing the details of the plan Uchiha Mukaku proposed. Some ninja suggested that cage-level experts skilled in space ninjutsu could be responsible for the raid, allowing them to quickly enter and withdraw from the hidden mist village. Others stated that the frontline battle would need a commander and require multiple tactics to be formulated for different situations. Uchiha Mukaku listened intently to everyone's discussion but remained silent. He not only wanted to give everyone a chance to contribute but also deeply understood the danger of raiding the hidden mist village and did not want to incur the karma of putting others at risk. After a heated discussion, everyone felt that while Uchiha Mukaku's plan was risky, if successful, it could not only retrieve the Byakugan but also deliver a heavy blow to the hidden mist village, making them dare not covet Konoha again in the short term. Although Danzo still harbored dissatisfaction, seeing everyone seriously discussing Uchiha Mukaku's plan, he could only temporarily suppress his emotions and listen carefully from the side, trying to find loopholes in the plan to refute it. Amidst the lively discussion, a preliminary battle plan gradually took shape, and the Konoha ninja were about to launch a thrilling battle against the hidden mist village to recover the Byakugan and defend the village's dignity. After the battle plan was finalized, 3rd Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi immediately issued orders for most of Konoha's elite forces present to head to the battlefield. As Uchiha Mukaku left, Danzo Shimura stared at his retreating back with a venomous gaze, thinking twistedly to himself, "One day, I will make you realize the price of ignoring me." As a special Jonin, Uchiha Mukaku was naturally one of those heading to the battlefield. However, his squad was somewhat special. Its members were all Minato Namikaze's beloved disciples, Kakashi Hatake, Uchiha Obito, and Rin Nohara. Chapter 91. When Kakashi Hatake and his two teammates saw Uchiha Mukaku, they were all greatly surprised, secretly thinking, "Minato Namikaze is gone, but Uchiha Mukaku is here instead. This is too much of a loss." Uchiha Mukaku saw their expressions and knew they were thinking impolite things, so he concisely said, "Jonin Namikaze has a new mission. I will temporarily be the leader of this squad. We must go straight to the front line immediately to participate in the Byakugan recovery battle. Let's go now." Fortunately, it wasn't yet time for the Kanabi Bridge battle. Otherwise, once Kakashi Hatake had been promoted to Jonin, Uchiha Mukaku, a special Jonin, wouldn't even be qualified to lead the team. After Uchiha Mukaku finished speaking, he quickly led the three towards the front line. Kakashi Hatake, following beside him, asked, "As a strategic weapon, the Byakugan should have strict protection. How could it have been stolen by the enemy?" Uchiha Mukaku replied, "I don't know the specific details. The situation is extremely urgent, and no one explained it to me. Our top priority now is to reach the front line and get the Byakugan back. Kakashi said somewhat pessimistically, this mission is too difficult. After the Mist Ninja got the Byakugan, they definitely won't foolishly wait for us to snatch it back. Before anyone else could speak, Uchiha Obito optimistically said, that's not necessarily true. Maybe we'll get lucky and snatch it back. Watching the two bicker, Uchiha Mukaku raised an eyebrow, having no desire to participate in their discussion. He simply focused on hurrying to the front line where the two nations were at war. After the Mist Ninja successfully stole the Byakugan, they anticipated that Konoha would launch a large-scale retaliatory offensive, so they dispatched a large number of elites from Hidden Mist Village to stabilize the front line, which left Hidden Mist Village somewhat empty internally. In fact, if they could, Hidden Mist Village wouldn't want to do this. It was simply because the Mist Ninja had suffered too many casualties in previous battles with the Leaf Ninja, so Hidden Mist Village's power was stretched thin at this time, and they could only resort to this method of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Ninja move quickly, and Uchiha Mukaku and his group soon arrived on the battlefield. Hearing the roaring explosions of ninjutsu in the distance, Uchiha Mukaku, as the leader, calmly instructed, Kakashi, Obito, Rin, this is our first mission together. The battlefield situation changes rapidly and is extremely dangerous. You must remember to form up and protect yourselves. In battle, if you can outnumber the enemy, do so. Never be greedy for achievement and rush forward. Yes, Captain, the three replied in unison. After giving the three their instructions, Uchiha Mukaku suddenly accelerated, charging into the Mist Ninja's position like an arrow released from a bowstring. Looking at Uchiha Mukaku's figure, Uchiha Obito helplessly grumbled, listening to that advice just now, I thought Mukaku had changed his personality. Turns out it was all for us, he didn't intend to follow a single one of them himself. At this moment, Kakashi Hatake, who was beside him, seriously said, Obito, watch carefully. Minato said that Mukaku is the direction you should strive for. At this age, he has already unleashed the Uchiha clan's talent to its fullest. I know. Hearing that it was Minato's instruction, Uchiha Obito reluctantly replied. Seeing the Leaf Ninja attack, four Mist Ninja simultaneously formed hand signs. In an instant, the battlefield transformed into a surging ocean, and 20-meter-high water spouts swept in from four directions, engulfing and crushing everything on the ground. Uchiha Mukaku did not hesitate. The wind release chakra wrapped around his blade instantly cut through the water curtain, tearing open a vacuum path directly in the middle of the surging giant waves. His body swiftly passed through the gaps of the massive waves cut open by the wind blade, and in the blink of an eye, he reached the four Mist Ninja. This caught the unprepared Mist Ninja off guard, causing them to panic slightly, but in the next moment, their expressions instantly calmed as they saw a pair of blood-red pupils. Beautiful bloodlines appeared on the necks of the four Mist Ninja. Uchiha Mukaku's body did not stop for a moment, passing directly through the gap between the four, and charging deeper into the Mist Ninja's position. After his figure left, the bloodlines on the throats of the four Mist Ninjas suddenly burst, a large amount of blood gushed out, and then the four bodies fell backward powerlessly. Watching Uchiha Mukaku so magnificently slay four Mist Ninja with wind release, vacuum sword from behind him, Kakashi and his two teammates showed expressions of disbelief. The battle was too decisive. Mukaku had eliminated four Mist Ninja in an instant. Uchiha Mukaku's sudden advance naturally attracted the enemy's attention. Two Mist Ninja immediately formed hand signs to cast ninjutsu, flanking Uchiha Mukaku, who was in the center of the battlefield, from both sides. Two giant water dragons leapt from the battlefield, accompanied by the deafening sound of flowing water, closing in on Uchiha Mukaku from both sides. Uchiha Mukaku's ninja blade traced a perfect circle around him, and the wind release chakra on the blade immediately created a rapidly expanding, deadly ring. The wind release ring instantly cut through the physical forms of the water release, water dragon jutsu attacking from both sides. Taking advantage of the water separating, Uchiha Mukaku's kunai passed through the gap, striking both of their throats. Puff, puff. After sounds that occurred almost simultaneously, the water dragons in midair disintegrated, and massive amounts of water fell from above, like a torrential downpour. Uchiha Obito, who was watching from the side, widened his eyes and asked, Kakashi, did you see Boss Mukaku's kunai throwing motion? No, I only saw the result. Kakashi Hatake replied with a look of astonishment, secretly sighing that not only were the opponent's techniques concealed, but his speed was also extremely fast. Uchiha Mukaku's forceful assault caused a tremor in the enemy's lines, and then, within a short time, several mist ninja charged over. Facing the rain of shuriken thrown by multiple enemies, Uchiha Mukaku met them with a stern gaze. He had just used the invisible wind belt generated by wind release, vacuum sword to cut down all these projectiles when two mist ninja arrived at his sides, thrusting their gleaming ninja blades at Uchiha Mukaku. Uchiha Mukaku tossed the ninja blade in his hand into the air. Then, his hands, covered in blue chakra, gripped the incoming blades. With a forceful twist, protected by yin-style iron wall, the two sharp blades each plunged into the bodies of the mist ninja's teammates. The moment the blades pierced the mist ninja's vital points, Uchiha Mukaku heavily kicked the chests and abdomens of the two nearby individuals, performing a horizontal split in midair. The two mist ninja were immediately kicked away and then clumsily caught by the charging mist ninja. This delay caused them to lose their last chance to attack. Uchiha Mukaku caught his ninja blade as it fell from midair, sweeping it in a graceful arc across his chest. Immediately, the wind blade extended, and four heads flew up around Uchiha Mukaku, a brilliant blood mist enveloping him. Uchiha Mukaku's violent fighting style not only struck fear into his enemies but also deeply shocked Kakashi and his teammates. Gazing at Uchiha Mukaku amidst the blood mist, Kakashi thought to himself that while he could defeat mist ninja of that caliber, he could never do so with such ease as Uchiha Mukaku. Rin Nohara was similarly stunned by the bloody scene. Although she had been in battles for a long time, such a violent fighting display was a first for her. After all, Minato Namikaze and Kakashi Hatake were both assassin-type ninja, and their fighting styles were far less expansive than Uchiha Mukaku's. However, among the three, Uchiha Obito was the most shocked. He never imagined Uchiha Mukaku could be so powerful. The gap between them was once again laid bare, a difference as vast as heaven and earth. As a fellow member of the Uchiha clan, if the other party was so formidable, wouldn't it make him seem utterly incompetent? No wonder Minato-sensei said Uchiha Mukaku was the direction he should strive for. Just as the three were astonished, a blue, forked lightning bolt suddenly erupted from the cliff, shooting directly towards Uchiha Mukaku. Precisely at that moment, a white snake appeared without warning around Uchiha Mukaku, its massive body forcefully blocking the attack. Steam rose from the white snake's scales. The attack, powerful enough to shatter rocks, failed to penetrate the white snake's scaly defense. As the white snake writhed, Uchiha Mukaku's calm face emerged. Seeing his attack had no effect, the opponent did not continue but instead reprimanded from above, "Konoha brat, this is not a place for you to run wild." This person had long green hair, thick eyebrows, and sharp teeth, a common appearance for mist ninja. His upper body was wrapped in bandages, and he carried lightning blade, fang on his back. Uchiha Mukaku raised his blood-red eyes, looked at his opponent, and scoffed, "A coward who fled like a stray dog, dares to spout nonsense here." Kurosuke Raiga stared intently, realizing the brat below was the leaf ninja he had encountered during his last mission. This made him vigilantly scan his surroundings, fearing Maydade's sudden appearance. It wasn't that he was a coward, it was simply that the last encounter had left him with a psychological scar. Who could have expected a seemingly ordinary ninja to humble the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist so badly, directly turning them from the 7 ninja swordsmen into the 3 lucky charms? After fulfilling its mission, the white snake dissipated into smoke. Uchiha Mukaku unhesitatingly launched an attack towards Kurosuke Raiga. The members of Minato Namikaze's team behind him showed worried expressions. One must know that their opponent was no ordinary foe but a member of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, all elites of Hidden Mist Village. Uchiha Mukaku's actions seemed overly reckless. Just as the three wanted to go and assist, other mist ninjas surrounded them. Kakashi Hatake and the others, left with no choice, could only abandon the idea of supporting Uchiha Mukaku. Seeing the enemy charging directly at him, Kurosuke Raiga immediately unleashed lightning release, lightning ball technique. He channeled lightning release chakra to the tip of lightning blade, fang, and the lightning ball instantly shot towards his enemy. Although this lightning ball technique was not overwhelmingly powerful, its advantage lay in its extreme speed. Facing the lightning ball that struck like lightning, a cold glint flashed in Uchiha Mukaku's blood-red eyes. He swung his ninja blade, which was imbued with wind release chakra, and the vacuum wind blade formed by wind release, vacuum sword instantly sliced through the approaching lightning ball. This wasn't because Uchiha Mukaku's wind release was exceptionally powerful, but due to the basic principle of elemental counter-affinity. Although he didn't understand why wind countered lightning, Uchiha Mukaku wasn't a scholar. As long as the ninjutsu was effective, that was all that mattered. The vacuum wind blade that sliced through the lightning ball continued its trajectory, whistling towards its opponent at an extremely fast speed, leaving only the piercing whistle of the wind blade in the air. Just as the vacuum wind blade cut through the cliff and was about to strike Kurosuke Raiga, his figure suddenly vanished, narrowly avoiding the fatal wind blade. Immediately after, the sound of clashing swords rang out, sparks flying. Kurosuke Raiga had, at some unknown moment, appeared in front of Uchiha Mukaku, swinging his twin blades in an attack. Lightning Blade. Fang is the fastest twin blade infused with lightning. This sword excels in both offense and defense, and can also generate and attract lightning, thereby releasing more powerful lightning release attacks. However, Kurosuke Raiga encountered an opponent who completely countered him in terms of chakra nature. In close combat, his blades could generate and attract lightning, instantly paralyzing the enemy's body. Yet, the wind release chakra on Uchiha Mukaku's ninja blade rendered Lightning Blade, Fang's unique property ineffective. What was worse, although lightning release chakra could indeed greatly enhance a ninja's physical activity, making Kurosuke Raiga incredibly fast, he couldn't transform into actual lightning like a devil fruit user. Therefore, in front of Uchiha Mukaku, who possessed superb dynamic vision, his movements were seen clearly, putting Kurosuke Raiga at a complete disadvantage in close combat. After a series of exchanges and probes, Kurosuke Raiga decisively abandoned the idea of close combat, intending to wear down his opponent with long-range ninjutsu. The two crossed paths in the air, switching positions. Uchiha Mukaku ascended the severed cliff, while Kurosuke Raiga landed in the valley below. Kurosuke Raiga stood in the valley, stomping his feet forcefully, rapidly forming hand seals, and loudly exclaimed, "Water release, water shark bullet technique." In an instant, the surrounding water vapor rapidly gathered, and a massive, shark-shaped water bullet surged towards Uchiha Mukaku on the cliff. The shark's sharp teeth, as if capable of tearing through anything, caused the air in its path to be squeezed, emitting a whooshing sound. Uchiha Mukaku's Sharingan instantly activated, seeing through the water shark bullet's attack trajectory. He remained composed, took a deep breath, gathered fire release chakra in his throat, and then violently expelled it. Fire release, Great Fireball technique. A massive fireball charged towards the water shark bullet. The moment the two collided, a large amount of steam was generated, and the surrounding area was instantly enveloped in white mist. Just as the Great Fireball technique and the water shark bullet collided, Uchiha Mukaku keenly sensed that something was amiss. How could his fire release be evenly matched with the opponent's water release? There must be a trick involved. Indeed, a thick fog, so dense that one couldn't see their hand in front of their face, immediately permeated the surroundings. Uchiha Mukaku instantly became vigilant. Was the opponent creating such an environment to employ the Hidden Mist Village's unique silent killing technique? However, he quickly dismissed this foolish judgment. Because a dazzling white light instantly illuminated the sky, and massive lightning descended from above. Only then did he hear the piercing electrical sound, like an eagle's cry. At this point, it was too late to dodge. The entire cliff was struck by the lightning, and the powerful destructive force caused the cliff to instantly collapse. Uchiha Mukaku's body fell along with a large amount of debris. Kurosuke Raiga, holding his twin blades, stood triumphantly on the ruins of the cliff, searching for Uchiha Mukaku's corpse. Kurosuke Raiga stood amidst the thick fog, fully sensing the other party's chakra fluctuations. Just then, Uchiha Mukaku's lightning-scorched body in the distance suddenly stirred. A pair of pale hands pried open the mouth of the charred corpse, and Uchiha Mukaku struggled to emerge from inside, covered in unknown viscous fluid. Although he disliked the Orochimaru-style body replacement technique's method of appearance, he was very satisfied with the technique's effect. Without it, Uchiha Mukaku would never dare to fight in such a style. As soon as Uchiha Mukaku appeared, Kurosuke Raiga locked onto his position and, without a word, released lightning release chakra, sending a dazzling lightning ball directly towards Uchiha Mukaku's location. Uchiha Mukaku detected the chakra fluctuations from afar and immediately activated wind release ninjutsu body technique. Dragon Claw Hand, 5 wind blades hauled out in an instant, tearing the lightning ball that rushed towards him into oblivion. At this moment, Kurosuke Raiga had already arrived behind Uchiha Mukaku, thrusting lightning blade, Fang towards the enemy who had no time to turn around. The previous attack was merely to cover his movements. However, just as he thought he was about to succeed, a crisp snap of fingers rang out, and Kurosuke Raiga's body was uncontrollably fixed in place, unable to move. At this moment, Uchiha Mukaku's lips curved slightly upward. As early as their first close-quarters engagement, he had already cast a genjutsu on the opponent. Simultaneously, Uchiha Mukaku flicked his wrist, and a sharp kunai appeared in his palm. He gripped the hilt in a reverse hold and thrust it towards the opponent's neck. Sounds of crackling and squelch rang out successively. Blood spurted from Kurosuke Raiga's body, staining the ground, yet at this moment, a look of relief appeared on his face. It turned out that at the moment of life and death, he had mobilized the electricity stored within Lightning Blade, Fang, electrocuting himself, which allowed him to dispel the genjutsu the opponent had cast on him in the nick of time, thus dodging Uchiha Mukaku's fatal blow. However, even so, his shoulder was still pierced by the opponent's kunai. But Kurosuke Raiga had no intention of creating distance. As soon as he broke free, he refined lightning release chakra, continuously channeling it into Lightning Blade, Fang. Dazzling electric light flared around Kurosuke Raiga and Uchiha Mukaku. The lightning pierced through the air and struck Uchiha Mukaku's body, paralyzing him. Seeing the attack succeed, Kurosuke Raiga was about to press his advantage and finish off the opponent, but a giant white python suddenly appeared and tightly coiled around him, rendering him immobile. Fortunately, his lightning blade, Fang, continued to release electricity. The moment the lightning blade made contact with the python's body, the huge white python lost control of its body, and its coiling body immediately went limp. However, the entangled Kurosuke Raiga was not feeling well either. He was also left powerless by the lightning he himself released. The ninjutsu that saved Uchiha Mukaku's life was called summoning, snake neck binding, a C-rank ninjutsu that could summon 2 large snakes from the sleeves to entangle enemies. Because preparations were made in advance, it could be activated immediately without the need for blood as a medium or hand seals. Originally, this move was Uchiha Mukaku's contingency plan in case the opponent dodged his kunai, but he never expected it to accidentally save his own life. The physically limp Kurosuke Raiga naturally could not continue releasing electricity. Uchiha Mukaku seized the opportunity to use body flicker technique to distance himself from the opponent. He dared not continue to entangle with the opponent. After all, no matter how fast he was, he could not be faster than the electric current generated by lightning release. Kurosuke Raiga naturally saw Uchiha Mukaku's figure vanish as he used body flicker technique, and just as he thought he was temporarily safe, he never expected the opponent to have left exploding tags in his original position. This caused Kurosuke Raiga's pupils to instantly dilate. He disregarded his limp body and scrambled away in the opposite direction. Boom! The sound of the exploding tag detonating rang out. Kurosuke Raiga was sent flying by the impact wave generated by the explosion. Fortunately, the distance was far enough that he did not suffer much explosion damage, merely rolling 2 circles on the ground in a sorry state, feeling some pain in his bones. At this moment, Kurosuke Raiga had completely abandoned any thoughts of underestimating the opponent. This guy was not a simple brat. If he had reacted even slightly slower or made a single mistake just now, he would probably have been killed by the opponent. What on earth is going on with Konoha Ninja Village? Why are there powerful characters everywhere? That middle-aged man covered in blood-red steaming chakra a few days ago was terrifying enough. How could even a brat be so difficult to deal with? Uchiha Mukaku, using the thick fog as cover, was also very helpless at this moment. What's going on? Is Kurosuke Raiga a bit too strong, even overpowered? He remembered that the opponent was a relatively weak character, defeated by a team composed of Hyuga Neji, Rock Lee, Tenten, and Uzumaki Naruto before Shippuden. Why is he so powerful when it comes to him? Is the old fool heaven playing with me? Actually, Uchiha Mukaku misunderstood. The current Kurosuke Raiga is the true level that the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist should possess. The current Kurosuke Raiga is different from the rogue ninja years later. He is now a devoted warrior with beliefs and aspirations, while the future Kurosuke Raiga is merely a stray dog who enjoys killing and playing house with children, so his combat power naturally cannot be maintained. After a brief psychological adjustment, the two immediately began a new round of competition. Since both were within the range of Kurosuke Raiga's hidden mist ninjutsu, the mist permeating the battlefield was like Kurosuke Raiga's sensory tentacles, so he was very clear about Uchiha Mukaku's position. He crossed his twin blades above his head to gather strength. The lightning snakes moving through the dark clouds were drawn down by him, and violent lightning flashed above Kurosuke Raiga's head. At this moment, Uchiha Mukaku also sensed the danger. He immediately used fire release, ash dust concealing technique, and a large amount of high-temperature flames and hot dust spread around, the high temperature dispersing the mist around Uchiha Mukaku. Feeling the enemy disappear from his sensory range, Kurosuke Raiga was startled. He stopped gathering strength and instead directly released lightning towards the direction where he first lost his sense. The dazzling lightning instantly pierced through the battlefield, directly hitting the spot where Uchiha Mukaku had just stood. The giant rocks on the ground instantly exploded under the terrifying electric current, and the splashing stones impacted the surrounding environment like a rainstorm. Uchiha Mukaku, who had moved in advance, broke out in a cold sweat from the opponent's lightning release ninjutsu. The lightning that exploded in an instant made Uchiha Mukaku's body tingle, as he had not completely escaped the attack range. Feeling the shaking of the tree trunk in front of him and the dense impact sounds, Uchiha Mukaku's cold sweat poured out. If it weren't for the tree trunk blocking in front, he would probably have been riddled with holes by the flying stones by now. After a series of skirmishes, Uchiha Mukaku had a general understanding of Kurosuke Raiga's situation. Kurosuke Raiga was skilled in lightning release, but his water release ninjutsu was mediocre, and his combat power primarily relied on lightning blade, Fang. Seeing his attack miss, Kurosuke Raiga's expression became very serious, and he secretly regretted his bad luck, having intended to pick an easy target but instead encountering a tough opponent. He quickly treated the wound on his shoulder and pondered. The opponent was proficient in fire release and wind release, his taijutsu was on par with his own, and he also had a strange summoning jutsu. The most troublesome thing was that the opponent was a ninja of the Uchiha clan, truly difficult to deal with. A slight mistake and his life might be forfeit. As the dense fog on the battlefield gradually dissipated, Uchiha Mukaku spotted Kurosuke Raiga's figure and immediately initiated his pre-planned offensive strategy. After casting Shadow Clone technique, 3 Uchiha Mukaku simultaneously launched their attacks. The first Shadow Clone threw several shuriken, the second Shadow Clone immediately followed with fire release, Great Fireball technique, the third Shadow Clone activated wind release, Great Breakthrough in an extremely short time. A great fireball with a diameter of several meters appeared on the battlefield. Enhanced by the powerful cyclone formed by wind release, Great Breakthrough, its speed dramatically increased. The originally orange-yellow Great Fireball's temperature rapidly rose, turning a bright white. This combined attack then engulfed the shuriken in midair and hurtled towards the enemy at an extremely high speed. Kurosuke Raiga immediately noticed this battlefield illuminating attack. His face became somewhat stiff, and the scale and speed of the opponent's ninjutsu made him realize he could not escape its range. Making a judgment in an instant, Kurosuke Raiga immediately activated water release, Water Formation Wall. Surging water spewed from his mouth, forming a solid water barrier. The solid barrier formed by water release, Water Formation Wall collided with the combined attack of the Great Fireball, which was enhanced by wind release and contained shuriken. In that instant, an earth-shattering roar erupted on the battlefield, and surging air currents frantically swept outwards from the point of impact. Where the bright white Great Fireball met the surging water, large plumes of white steam erupted, rising and instantly engulfing the surrounding space in a haze. After only a brief stalemate, Uchiha Mukaku's compound ninjutsu directly shattered the water release, Water Formation Wall released by Kurosuke Raiga. However, Kurosuke Raiga did not show any surprise at this moment. He had long anticipated that his water release, Water Formation Wall could only reduce the scale and power of the opponent's ninjutsu, and could not block the attack at all. Thus, he crossed Lightning Blade, Fang in front of his chest, injecting lightning release chakra into the weapons at maximum power. Instantly, countless electric currents flashed and then gathered on his body. This technique, called ninja art, lightning armor, involves merging the twin lightning blade, Fang to summon lightning to attach to the body, thereby defending against attacks and achieving an offensive-defensive purpose. Its nature is similar to the third Raikage's lightning release chakra mode. The massive torrent of flames struck Kurosuke Raiga's body. Although the lightning armor provided defensive protection, this technique could not neutralize the impact force of Uchiha Mukaku's ninjutsu. The moment Kurosuke Raiga was sent flying, the immense impact force caused his body to completely lose control. Uchiha Mukaku's compound ninjutsu was astonishingly powerful, the great fireball, enhanced by wind release, was several meters in diameter, changed color from orange-yellow to bright white, and its temperature rapidly soared, emitting heat waves that could scorch everything, while the shuriken mixed within further increased the attack's lethality. When this powerful force struck the lightning armor on Kurosuke Raiga's body, he was violently propelled backward. The muscles on his face were extremely distorted from the impact, and his expression was one of extreme pain. His clothes swelled from the powerful air currents, then were torn to shreds, the fragments scattering with the wind. His hair was also disheveled, standing on end. The powerful impact created a strong air current around him, which rapidly picked up sand, stones, and dead branches from the ground, forming a murky whirlwind. Kurosuke Raiga arced through the air, his body constantly swaying, each sway accompanied by excruciating bone pain. He could even clearly hear dull thuds from inside his body. As he flew backward, his ears were filled with a deafening roar, and his vision blurred, seeing only a dazzling light and the outlines of rapidly passing scenery. Kurosuke Raiga forcibly stabilized himself in midair, landing heavily on the ground, sliding several meters backward before coming to a stop. But just as he steadied himself, Uchiha Mukaku charged forward with wind release, vacuum blade. Facing the aggressive enemy, Kurosuke Raiga unhesitatingly injected all of his lightning release chakra into lightning blade, fang at once, and an endless burst of lightning erupted before him. Although Uchiha Mukaku's surprise attack was fast, Kurosuke Raiga, relying on lightning blade, fang, could activate ninjutsu even faster without needing hand seals. While this method of chakra consumption was somewhat wasteful, no one had ever been able to break through this extremely powerful lightning barrier in the past. Just as Kurosuke Raiga was secretly feeling smug, Uchiha Mukaku's pre-arranged contingency activated, ninja art, shuriken shadow clone technique. The shuriken that had been carried by the compound ninjutsu moments before instantly filled the entire area. Although these shuriken, having lost most of their kinetic energy, had no offensive power, they acted as good conductors, serving to disperse the power of the lightning. The lightning unleashed by Kurosuke Raiga was guided in all directions by the overwhelming number of shuriken. After dispersing Kurosuke Raiga's lightning defense, the flying shuriken also disappeared due to the lightning attack, and the entire battlefield was filled with the smoke left by the disappearing shadow clones. Facing Kurosuke Raiga's only remaining thin defense, Uchiha Mukaku easily cut through the lightning with the wind release, vacuum blade in his hand, broke through the smoke filling the battlefield, and, without a moment to spare, slashed towards Kurosuke Raiga. Kurosuke Raiga, his lightning defense breached, used his weapon to parry the opponent's attack with a look of astonishment, thinking to himself, the opponent's imagination is truly boundless, he had never seen anyone break his lightning defense in this way before. Just as the two were locked in a stalemate, a ninja blade pierced through Kurosuke Raiga's body from behind. The sharp blade emerged from his body, and Kurosuke Raiga could even see the tip of the blade that had pierced his chest. The attacker was none other than Uchiha Mukaku's third shadow clone. The first shadow clone immediately launched wind release, vacuum blade for a surprise attack after throwing the shuriken. The second shadow clone, when the opponent deployed his lightning defense, perfectly used ninja art, shadow clone technique to weaken the opponent's ninjutsu's power. Then the third shadow clone, at the opportune moment during their battle, delivered a fatal blow from behind Kurosuke Raiga. Kurosuke Raiga, whose chest had been pierced by the ninja sword, looked at Uchiha Mukaku with disbelief. He struggled and dejectedly shouted, "Brat, you won, but you'll have to die with me." Lightning release. Lightning funeral. This was Kurosuke Raiga's desperate ultimate move, capable of summoning lightning from the sky to engulf him entirely. However, no matter how fast his ninjutsu was, how could it compare to the speed of Uchiha Mukaku's Sharingan genjutsu? The second before lightning release, lightning funeral was about to activate, Uchiha Mukaku's genjutsu had already taken control of his consciousness. Immediately after, he raised his blade and cut off his head. Looking at Kurosuke Raiga's unseeing eyes, Uchiha Mukaku's heart was filled with apprehension. He had to admit that ninja had incredibly tenacious vitality. Even with his heart pierced, he could still struggle. If he hadn't possessed the Sharingan, Uchiha Mukaku couldn't guarantee that he would have dealt with the opponent unscathed. Just then, Kakashi Hatake and the others also broke free from the entanglement of the hidden mist ninja and immediately saw Uchiha Mukaku beheading Kurosuke Raiga. Kakashi Hatake's eyes widened in shock. Uchiha Mukaku, who was the same age as him, had so openly and single-handedly taken down a member of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. This was simply beyond his wildest imagination. Uchiha Obito was even more dumbfounded. He needed Kakashi's help to deal with one or two hidden mist ninja, yet Mukaku, also of the Uchiha clan, could resolve a member of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist without a scratch. How could the gap between people be so vast? He couldn't help but complain inwardly, wondering why he was always surrounded by such impossibly powerful individuals. Rin Nohara, however, didn't think that way. Unlike the boys, she wasn't competitive. She simply felt that Uchiha Mukaku was incredibly powerful, and standing beside him gave her a profound sense of security. Not only did Konoha's ninja see Kurosuke Raiga's death, but the hidden mist ninja also witnessed the scene, which infuriated many of them, making their blood boil. Each one wished they could immediately rush forward to avenge Kurosuke Raiga. Just as they were about to make their move, a massive weapon, like a windmill, whistled as it flew towards Uchiha Mukaku. Uchiha Mukaku reacted extremely quickly, instantly using body flicker technique to distance himself, and he also took the opportunity to release shadow clone technique, recovering some chakra. The massive weapon that missed its target did not fall straight to the ground. Instead, after drawing a beautiful arc in the air, it returned to its owner's hand. Uchiha Mukaku looked closely, and the person who had arrived was none other than Biwajuzo, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Uchiha Mukaku couldn't help but inwardly grumble, is there no one else on this battlefield, or what? Why are all these difficult guys hovering around me? How unlucky. It seems he'll have to fight the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist a second time. While Uchiha Mukaku was fighting on the hidden mist front line, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Minato Namikaze had already passed through the hidden mist ninjas' battle lines and arrived at the mist village. Orochimaru and Jiraiya were observing the mist village under the moonlight when Minato Namikaze returned to their side with body flicker and said, Mr. Orochimaru, Jiraiya-sensei, I have completed the preparations. We can launch the attack at any time. Orochimaru was very satisfied with the capable and meticulous Minato Namikaze and, uncharacteristically, said, you've truly worked hard. At this moment, Jiraiya, standing nearby, boastfully showed off, haha, isn't my disciple great? He has the best ninja qualities ever, excellent ninjutsu, clear thinking, popular, and as handsome as me. Aren't you envious? Orochimaru retorted with a cold face, what, if I were envious, would you give this disciple to me? Ha, how could that be? You can't be envious. Jiraiya immediately refused in a flustered manner. Then why are you talking nonsense? Orochimaru replied irritably. When it came to students, Orochimaru indeed couldn't compare to Jiraiya at this time, as neither Yakushi Kabuto nor Uchiha Sasuke had appeared yet. After momentarily silencing Jiraiya, Orochimaru urged, let's move quickly. The sooner we finish, the sooner we can go home. This is hidden mist territory after all. Having said that, Orochimaru quickly merged with his surroundings and vanished before Jiraiya's eyes in an instant. Watching the disappearing Orochimaru, Jiraiya casually said to his disciple, once you receive the signal, come immediately to support us. Understood. Minato Namikaze responded with a firm tone. Patting his disciple's shoulder, Jiraiya's expression became uncharacteristically serious. After all, this was considered venturing into a dragon's den, and it was impossible not to be nervous at all. A frog hopped into the very center of the mist village. It arrived at a secluded, uninhabited corner, and the frog opened its mouth, but there was no croaking sound. Instead, a human hand extended from inside, and then Jiraiya himself emerged from the frog's mouth. If Uchiha Mukaku had seen this technique, he would definitely have thought that Jiraiya and Orochimaru were truly good partners, even their techniques were quite similar. This technique, called frog concealment technique, allowed Jiraiya to secretly infiltrate using an unnoticed small frog, thus reaching the very center of the mist village in an instant. Summoning technique. Bring down the house technique. Jiraiya bit his thumb and instantly performed this ninjutsu. After the summoning formula unfolded, a 17-meter tall giant toad descended from the sky. Its massive weight directly crushed a building in the center of the mist village. The massive sound immediately attracted the attention of the hidden mist ninja. Upon seeing the giant toad, a piercing alarm blared throughout the entire village. This was a giant purplish-red toad with a U-shaped black tattoo on its face, carrying a podlid-shaped shield on its back, and wielding a spiky trident. Jiraiya looked down at the frantically moving hidden mist ninja and said to the purplish-red toad beneath him, Gameiken, prepare the oil. Understood. Jiraiya's words were immediately met with a response. As Jiraiya's partner, He naturally understood what the other party wanted to do. This was the understanding between the two of them. Fire release. Toad oil bullet. This was a combined ninjutsu technique performed by Gameiken and Jiraiya. Gameiken instantly spewed out a large amount of toad oil, which combined with Jiraiya's fire release to create a massive oil bullet for attack. This technique was extremely powerful and had a wide range. In the future battle of the three ninja, this technique directly incinerated a 50-meter-long manda's shed skin. As soon as fire release, toad oil bullet was unleashed, the mist village was instantly engulfed in a sea of flames. The enormous oil bullet roared as it rushed towards the buildings of the mist village. The large quantity of toad oil spewed by Gameiken swept over everything like a surging tide, and Jiraiya's fire release was like the spark that ignited this tide. The moment they met and combined, a dazzling yet terrifying flame erupted. The flames spread at an extremely fast pace, and wherever they went, buildings were ignited one after another. Wooden buildings were the first to suffer, instantly consumed by the flames, emitting crackling sounds and sending sparks flying. Those buildings constructed from stone and earth gradually turned red under the high temperatures, cracks appeared on their walls, and then they were slowly eroded by the flames. The roofs of some houses began to collapse under the scorching heat of the flames, tiles shattered to the ground, raising clouds of dust. The flames wove through the alleys between the buildings, like a fiery serpent with bared fangs. It licked the streets, instantly turning the decorations and green belts along the roads into ash. Smoke permeated the entire village, and a pungent odor filled every corner. The people of the mist village fled in terror amidst the flames, trying to use ninjutsu to stop the fire's spread, but the power of the toad oil bullet was simply too immense. Although water release ninjutsu could temporarily extinguish some small flames, it was merely a drop in the bucket against the endless supply of toad oil and the raging inferno. Some civilians were surrounded by flames, emitting painful screams, their clothes caught fire, and their skin was burned. And those ninja who fortunately escaped the range of the flames were also choked by the thick smoke, coughing incessantly, and their eyes streamed with tears from the fumes. The entire mist village, under the attack of the toad oil bullet, plunged into chaos and destruction. The light reflected by the flames made this once peaceful ninja village seem like a purgatory. Jiraiya's rampant destruction naturally alerted the hidden mist strong ninja, and the Three Tails Jinchuriki immediately rushed to the scene. As he completed his hand signs, a massive amount of water surged from underground, filling the entire village in an instant. The toad oil, being less dense, floated on the surface, thus removing the threat of fire to the mist village. Seeing that the fire was extinguished, the Three Tails Jinchuriki controlled the vast current of water to flow out of the village. Just as the mist ninja were cheering, a cold light flashed, and a sharp blade pierced directly through the Three Tails Jinchuriki's chest. It turned out that Orochimaru, who had been lurking in the shadows waiting for an opportunity, instantly locked onto his target upon sensing the opponent's enormous chakra, and decisively launched a fatal blow while the opponent was distracted by manipulating ninjutsu. After Orochimaru succeeded, Minato Namikaze immediately used the Flying Thunder God technique to appear beside the Three Tails Jinchuriki, his 5 fingertips glowing with a faint blue flame, which he then pressed onto the opponent. The Three Tails Jinchuriki tried to struggle, but found his body firmly bound by a python, completely unable to move. 5 elements unseal, open. Minato Namikaze shouted in a low voice, and the Three Tails seal was thus broken, releasing the sealed Three Tails Isobu from the Jinchuriki's body. The Three Tails Isobu was one of the 9 portions of chakra separated by the 6-path sage Otsutsuki Hagoromo from the 10 tails in ancient times. Its appearance was that of a turtle covered in spikes with 3 tails. This behemoth could not only use water release, but its body was even larger than Gameiken. After the 3 tails was released, filled with resentment over being sealed, it immediately rampaged through the village. Wherever its massive body went, the remaining buildings and panicked crowds were ruthlessly crushed. It swung its 3 tails wildly, each swing bringing a powerful current of water that swept everything around it. Seeing this, Jiraiya quickly ordered Gameiken to stay away from the rampaging 3 tails Isobu. They did not want to be affected, but rather kept their distance and continued to cause destruction. At this time, the Mist Ninja also recovered, and they quickly surrounded the 3 tails Isobu, preparing to seal it again. The 3 tails Isobu roared in anger at the sight, its huge sound waves vibrating the air, causing some weaker Mist Ninja to bleed from their ears and collapse to the ground. Orochimaru took advantage of the chaos, moving freely among the Mist Ninja. The Kusanagi sword in his hand gleamed coldly in the gecko, and each swing precisely cut the throats of Mist Ninja or pierced vital points. His speed was as fast as lightning, leaving behind only the fallen figures of Mist Ninja wherever he went. He also occasionally used some ninjutsu, such as hidden shadow snake hands, where several venomous snakes emerged from his sleeves, quickly slithering towards enemies. After the venomous snakes bit the Mist Ninja, they instantly injected venom, causing the bitten ninja's face to quickly turn black before they collapsed and died. Minato Namikaze, meanwhile, continuously flashed across the battlefield using the Flying Thunder God technique. He had pre-arranged Flying Thunder God kunai at various key locations, allowing him to appear unexpectedly in places the enemies would not anticipate. Each time he appeared, he launched a swift attack on the surrounding Mist Ninja, often striking them before they could even react. The rapidly spinning Rasengan in his hand was like a miniature storm. Once that blue chakra ball hit a Mist Ninja, the immense impact would directly send the enemy flying, crashing into distant buildings, which instantly collapsed. Just then, another huge-tailed beast appeared, but this time it was not to help Orochimaru destroy the Mist Village, but to stop the chaotic situation. This tailed beast was the Mist Village's Seiken, a huge slug-like creature with limbs. Its body was covered in a highly corrosive liquid, and it could also release a gas that caused anything it touched to rot. Immediately, Orochimaru saw the third Mizukage appear, and seeing the Mist Ninja pour out en masse, he decisively gave the retreat signal. Jiraiya saw the retreat signal from Orochimaru and understood that the situation was unfavorable for their side. He winked at Gameiken, who understood and leapt towards Minato Namikaze and Orochimaru, simultaneously spewing a powerful stream of water from his mouth. This was Mount Myoboku Toad's water release, Toad Oil Bullet, which was incredibly powerful, instantly destroying half a street of buildings. The massive splashing water immediately obscured the Mist Ninja's vision. Upon receiving the signal, Minato Namikaze's figure flickered, instantly appearing at a high point in the hidden Mist Village to observe his position. After seeing Orochimaru, he immediately used the Flying Thunder God technique to appear beside him. Orochimaru continued to use hidden shadow snake hands, while moving towards Jiraiya's direction, wantonly killing the surrounding Mist Ninja. However, the hidden Mist Village's strong ninja would not easily let them rendezvous. The third Mizukage formed hand signs, and a massive water wall pressed towards Jiraiya and the others. The water wall continuously absorbed surrounding water as it moved, growing larger and larger, like a moving iceberg. Seeing this, Jiraiya quickly formed hand signs and shouted, "Fire release, Great Flame Bullet Technique." He spewed a powerful flame that rushed towards the water wall. Water and fire met, producing a large amount of steam. Under the cover of the steam, Jiraiya released the summoning technique, swiftly moving through the ruins and heading towards Orochimaru's direction. Minato Namikaze took advantage of the pervasive steam to use the Flying Thunder God technique, appearing behind the Mizukage. The Rasengan in his hand quickly formed and attacked the Mizukage's back. The third Mizukage sensed the attack from behind and shifted his body, causing Minato Namikaze's Rasengan to graze him. Immediately after, Minato Namikaze disappeared from his original spot again. Just when the third Mizukage thought he was safe, exploding tags suddenly detonated around him. Orochimaru was not idle either. He summoned countless snakes, which opened their gaping mouths and spat out blades to stab the enemies. The Mist Ninja all used ninjutsu to resist, and for a moment, various ninjutsu lights flashed on the battlefield. When Orochimaru and Jiraiya rendezvoused, Minato Namikaze seized the opportunity and stuck a Flying Thunder God kunai at their meeting point. Instantly, he, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru vanished without a trace. Seeing the three disappear from the hidden Mist Village, the Mist Ninja were first stunned, then filled with rage, not expecting the enemies to escape so easily. The third Mizukage looked at the still rampaging Three Tails Isobu, sighed deeply, and then loudly commanded, "Seal team, immediately seal the Three Tails. Everyone else, spread out and be on alert to prevent the enemy from returning for a surprise attack." Looking at his subordinates, each performing their duties, the third Mizukage still looked troubled, for although the battle was short, Konoha's surprise attack had caused immense and irreversible severe damage to the Mist Village. Uchiha Mukaku's eye twitched slightly as he watched Biwajuzo, who was carrying the Kyubikiri Bocho on his shoulder. The visual oppression brought by the broken blade of his Kyubikiri Bocho was extremely strong. Even without knowing the opponent's intelligence, ordinary ninja would be intimidated upon seeing a ninja manipulating such a giant weapon, and their will to resist would be weakened. This was a practical tactic in the Naruto world, just like Kisami's Samahata also had a similar effect. In the Naruto world, there was no saying that the stranger the weapon, the faster one died. On the contrary, ninja wielding special weapons were mostly extremely troublesome, such as Minato Namikaze's custom kunai, Might Guy's nunchaku, etc. Anyone confident enough to use a heavy weapon like the Kyubikiri Bocho must have achieved a balance of power and efficiency. The opponent must be skilled in close-range body techniques and water-release ninjutsu, and the large sword was highly compatible with his wide-open fighting style, such as water release, great waterfall technique, thus forming a unique tactical system. At this moment, Uchiha Mukaku's chakra was more than half depleted, though his stamina was still acceptable, but facing the enemy's heavy weapon, he wouldn't foolishly try to parry it. Considering his current state, Uchiha Mukaku had to find a way to defeat the enemy in one move. A prolonged battle would be disadvantageous for him. After all, the opponent's Kyubikiri Bocho could increase his stamina by killing enemies, extending his combat endurance. While Uchiha Mukaku was analyzing the opponent's intelligence, Biwa Juzo was not idle, also evaluating the opponent's combat capabilities. Being able to single-handedly kill Kurosuke Raiga without a scratch was by no means a simple feat. Looking at the opponent's youthful face, Biwa Juzo sighed inwardly. Another genius. The Konoha ninja village was truly terrifying, with such geniuses being born in every generation, suffocating the other ninja villages. Thinking of this, Biwa Juzo's eyes became cold. He wanted to help the Mist Village eliminate this great threat. In an instant, Biwa Juzo rushed to Uchiha Mukaku's side and swung his great sword to cut him down. Hearing the whistling sound of the great sword cutting through the air, Uchiha Mukaku hastily drew his ninja sword to block, unable to help but complain inwardly. It is said that the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist are all assassination masters, but wielding such a huge and strange blade with such wide-open attacks, can they really perform assassinations? What surprised Uchiha Mukaku the most was that Biwa Juzo had his eyes closed when he charged forward. Could this be the silent assassination technique that Mist Ninja were skilled in? As soon as they clashed, Uchiha Mukaku cried out inwardly, realizing it was bad. The opponent's immense force made him unable to dissipate the impact in time, and the moment the blades collided with sparks flying, Uchiha Mukaku was sent flying. Feeling the soreness in his wrist, Uchiha Mukaku saw the cracks on his blade and looked warily at his chasing opponent, thinking to himself, the power of heavy weapons is too exaggerated. Yin release. Iron Wall was instantly activated. As soon as the blue chakra covered the blade, the opponent's Kyubikiri Bocho struck. Clang. A crisp collision sound rang out. Under the effect of Yin release, Iron Wall, Uchiha Mukaku's weapon did not break, blocking the opponent's Kyubikiri Bocho, but unfortunately, he still didn't have time to dissipate the force and was sent flying by the opponent's cleaving power. This time, Uchiha Mukaku's arm was also numb from the shock. Facing the enemy's terrifying strength, he knew he couldn't continue like this, otherwise, if he took 2 more blows, his hands would be crippled by the opponent. His left hand formed a dragon claw hand, and wind release ninjutsu body technique was instantly activated. 5 wind blades instantly formed, carrying sharp explosive roars, heading straight for the enemy who was close at hand. Facing the enemy's counterattack, Biwa Juzo had no intention of defending at all. He directly swung the Kyubikiri Bocho by sound, cutting down the 5 wind blades launched by the opponent with one strike. Although wind release ninjutsu body technique, Dragon Claw Hand did not cause any damage to the enemy, it gave Uchiha Mukaku a chance to breathe, and he instantly widened the distance between himself and the opponent. Biwa Juzo naturally did not want the opponent to succeed and immediately swung his sword to pursue. The length of the Kyubikiri Bocho gave him a very large attack range. Uchiha Mukaku threw the ninja sword in his hand towards the enemy's chest and abdomen, then retreated while forming hand signs. Biwa Juzo, who had just knocked away the opponent's ninja sword, felt a scorching aura. As soon as he looked up and opened his eyes, he saw a fire release. Great fireball technique several meters in diameter rapidly expanding in his field of vision, which made him secretly regret it, and he immediately held the Kyubikiri Bocho horizontally in front of him to block the enemy's fire release attack. Boom! A huge explosion sounded. The fire release. Great fireball technique blew Biwa Juzo away, but because of the Kyubikiri Bocho's defense, he only had a little hair singed by the flames. This scene made Uchiha Mukaku a bit speechless, but he wasn't depressed. After all, in the original future, Biwa Juzo even used the Kyubikiri Bocho to block a tailed beast ball, and although he failed and died, it also showed that the strength of the Kyubikiri Bocho was indeed good. After creating enough distance, Uchiha Mukaku did not hesitate at all and immediately used Yin Release, Creation Spiral Sword. Facing an enemy with a wide-open fighting style, he could only defeat him head-on with a stronger attack. A blue Rasengan shone in Uchiha Mukaku's palm. With the injection of Yin Nature Chakra, the Rasengan immediately deformed, and a huge blue drill appeared on the battlefield. Feeling the chakra fluctuation from the opposite side, Biwa Juzo was startled. The chakra density the opponent was currently using could even rival a tailed beast ball. This kid was truly a monster. Biwa Juzo did not dare to be careless and immediately plunged the Kubikiri Bocho into the ground, then immediately used Water Release, Great Waterfall Technique, preparing to repel the opponent with a large-scale ninjutsu. Endless water vapor furiously gathered in front of Biwa Juzo. A huge water vortex instantly formed, then, with an endless roar, surged towards the opponent. Seeing the incoming torrent, Uchiha Mukaku held up the newly stabilized Yin Release, Creation Spiral Sword with one hand and met it head-on. The high-speed rotating Yin Nature Chakra drill easily broke through the incoming torrent. A huge vacuum tunnel appeared in the torrent, and Uchiha Mukaku, holding up the Yin Release, Creation Spiral Sword, went straight for Biwa Juzo's position. Seeing his Water Release, Great Waterfall Technique so easily broken through by the opponent's technique, Biwa Juzo's eyes widened. This was a ninjutsu that could easily change the terrain of the battlefield, and he never expected it to be broken through head-on by the opponent's ninjutsu, which made it truly hard for him to believe. If his chakra hadn't been undisturbed, Biwa Juzo would have almost suspected he was under a Sharingan Genjutsu. But now was not the time for surprise. After all, the opponent had already crossed the battlefield and arrived in front of him, so close that Biwa Juzo's hair tips and clothes were dancing in the whirlwind created by the rotation of the Yin Release, Creation Spiral Sword. Biwa Juzo gripped the hilt of the Kubikiri Bocho and held the door-like weapon in front of him. Although Uchiha Mukaku's Yin Release, Creation Spiral Sword did not match the tailed beast ball in terms of attack range, it was definitely superior in single-point breakthrough capability. The moment the Yin Release, Creation Spiral Sword struck, there wasn't even a scene of stalemate. The blade of the Kubikiri Bocho was shattered. At this moment, Biwa Juzo had no time to mourn his Kubikiri Bocho. He formed a hand sign with one hand, then deftly dodged Uchiha Mukaku's surprise attack from the Yin Release, Creation Spiral Sword. Just as Uchiha Mukaku was about to use Sharingan Genjutsu to forcibly control the opponent, he was enveloped by the dense fog spewed out by Biwa Juzo. This guy actually used ninja art, hidden mist jutsu at this critical moment. To prevent being ambushed by the enemy, Uchiha Mukaku immediately dispelled the ninjutsu in his hand and quickly retreated. However, even after he retreated from the dense fog, he was not attacked by Biwa Juzo. Looking at the gradually dissipating mist in front of him, Uchiha Mukaku then realized that the opponent had already retreated. This made him breathe a sigh of relief. He had no intention of pursuing Biwa Juzo. Firstly because the wisdom left by his ancestors was to not pursue a cornered enemy, and secondly because his chakra consumption was too great, and pursuing him would only be suicide. Uchiha Mukaku stood beside the fragments of the Kubikiri Bocho, looking at the broken blade that had been severed by his Yin Release, Creation Spiral Sword, and thought to himself, the latter half of the blade had indeed disappeared, which also confirmed his inference about Biwa Juzo's escape. Kakashi Hatake, who was nearby, looked at Uchiha Mukaku standing next to the broken blade, and a surge of competitive spirit rose in his heart. He didn't expect that the opponent had actually learned Minato Namikaze-sensei's ninjutsu and even upgraded it to suit his own situation. He absolutely could not fall behind and must perfect his Chidori ninjutsu as soon as possible. Uchiha Obito looked at the back of Uchiha Mukaku standing next to the broken blade, feeling that the opponent's figure had suddenly grown much taller. He didn't expect Uchiha Mukaku to have grown to such an extent, capable of solo killing one member of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist and forcing another to retreat. This truly exceeded his comprehension. Was this still his peer? Rin Nohara, on the other hand, had no other thoughts. Her face was filled with joy, feeling that Uchiha Mukaku was indeed a genius on par with Kakashi, and being able to achieve such a level was truly amazing. Just as Uchiha Mukaku was preparing to rest for a bit before continuing to break through the hidden mist ninja front, the opponent's retreat signal sounded in the sky, and immediately the hidden mist ninja retreated with staggered cover, yielding the defensive line to the Konoha ninja. Due to concerns that the opponent might be feigning, the Konoha ninja's frontline commander did not order a pursuit, but instead commanded the troops to occupy the opponent's defensive line and reinforce it. After finishing his work, Kakashi Hatake walked over and asked, was the ninjutsu that startled Biwajuzo just now related to the Rasengan? Uchiha Mukaku had no intention of concealing it. After all, Kakashi Hatake was Minato Namikaze's disciple. He candidly replied, yes, adding yin nature chakra into the Rasengan and causing it to undergo a certain shape transformation turns it into the yin release, creation spiral sword. You are truly amazing, to be able to evolve the Rasengan to such an extent. Kakashi Hatake praised sincerely. I am merely standing on the shoulders of giants. The Rasengan is Mr. Minato Namikaze's ninjutsu, and as for the yin release, creation spiral sword, it's thanks to Mr. Orochimaru's guidance, otherwise, it would still be a half-finished ninjutsu even now. Uchiha Mukaku sighed. To this, Kakashi Hatake was noncommittal, among the younger generation of Konoha, who wasn't standing on the shoulders of giants. But Uchiha Mukaku's achievements were clearly higher than theirs. To be able to complete such a ninjutsu concept as your own ability, there's no need to be modest. To be honest, I was also inspired by the Rasengan, but my ninjutsu is not yet complete, Kakashi Hatake said with some regret. This piqued Uchiha Mukaku's interest. A ninjutsu inspired by the Rasengan, wasn't that the famous Chidori? Thinking of this, he said directly, could you please demonstrate it? Perhaps the lessons from others can help polish one's own jade. Kakashi Hatake was not stingy and demonstrated the Chidori to Uchiha Mukaku on the spot. The Chidori is a lightning release ninjutsu that combines chakra nature and shape transformation. When this jutsu is activated, the output chakra transforms into lightning nature, thereby generating a powerful offensive current, the power of which can be adjusted by the chakra output. Seeing this familiar ninjutsu, Uchiha Mukaku seemed to recall his days of watching anime. He was very clear about the Chidori's shortcomings. So he said without thinking, the Chidori requires the user to charge forward at high speed in a straight line. Its trajectory is singular, making it easy to predict or evade. Moreover, with your dynamic vision, you simply cannot adapt to the Chidori's speed, making it easy for others to exploit its weakness and counterattack. Uchiha Mukaku's bluntness startled Kakashi Hatake. He didn't expect someone to see through the shortcomings of this ninjutsu with just one glance, which made him feel a bit insecure. Could he really be called a genius on par with the opponent? Uchiha Mukaku ignored Kakashi Hatake's shocked gaze and began to analyze. I'm sorry to say this, but with your current ability, you might not be able to fully control this ninjutsu. If possible, you could try to lower the chakra density of the Chidori, that might make it easier to control. Uchiha Mukaku wasn't a fool. Of course he wouldn't suggest the method of transplanting a Sharingan to the other party. At his level, he could only offer such advice. Seemingly feeling that this was a bit unfair to the other party's demonstration, Uchiha Mukaku continued, I feel that my self-study is too slow. It might be better to consult the third Hokage or Lord Jiraiya. They have a deeper understanding of ninjutsu, and even a casual remark from them could provide great inspiration. Hearing the opponent's objective evaluation, Kakashi Hatake fell silent for a moment. He certainly knew that what the other party said was profound truth, but as a young man, he had an unyielding heart. He wanted to complete this ninjutsu himself, not just for himself, but also for his father. This was a ninjutsu he completed by organizing his father's ninjutsu theories. Thank you for your suggestion, but I still want to complete this ninjutsu myself, Kakashi Hatake replied decisively. Looking at the other party's stubborn gaze, Uchiha Mukaku found it somewhat difficult to understand his persistence. In his opinion, as long as a ninjutsu was effective, that was all that mattered. He had no aversion to seeking guidance from others. Inclusiveness and assimilation were excellent traditions of the Chinese nation. Although he didn't understand, Uchiha Mukaku wouldn't make decisions for others arbitrarily. He responded with a smile, you're too kind. I wish you success in completing your ninjutsu soon. I truly look forward to the day it is finished. Watching their exchange, Uchiha Obito felt a little displeased in his heart. He felt that his rival had been stolen by Uchiha Mukaku. After Konoha Ninja Village received news of the successful surprise attack on Hidden Mist Village, the higher-ups in the village breathed a sigh of relief. When the Mist Ninja switched to defensive tactics, Uchiha Mukaku and others were recalled from the front lines. At this time, in the Hokage office, third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at Uchiha Mukaku's impeccable resume and immediately issued an order to put Uchiha Mukaku on ice. Although Uchiha Mukaku was an out-and-out genius, he did not belong to Hiruzen Sarutobi's sphere of influence. For now, he could only be wrong for a bit. Uchiha Mukaku would only be promoted further after Kakashi Hatake accumulated enough merit to become a Jonin. Originally, 3rd Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi did not want to make it so obvious, but Uchiha Mukaku's performance was simply too outstanding. This time, he not only planned the overall strategy against Hidden Mist Village but also killed one member of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist and scared away another. If he were to achieve new merits again, even Hiruzen Sarutobi himself might not be able to suppress his prestige and would have no choice but to promote him. Based on these considerations, not long after Uchiha Mukaku returned to the village, he received an appointment letter from Lord 3rd Hokage, assigning him to the Konoha military police force. Looking at the appointment letter in his hand, Uchiha Mukaku's mood was very complicated. He had already prepared himself mentally to hone his combat skills on the front lines, but he never expected to be put on ice. He could only lament that man proposes, God disposes, and could only reluctantly accept it. After Uchiha Mukaku returned to work at the Konoha military police force, he immediately found Uchiha Anaho and asked very seriously, "How is it? Has anything noteworthy happened in Konoha Ninja Village during this time?" "It's good, actually. Since entering the full-scale war, the public order in the village has suddenly improved a lot. There hasn't been a single case for many days," Uchiha Anaho immediately replied. Uchiha Mukaku understood this. He was just asking as a formality. After all, Orochimaru was still busy on the front lines and did not have time to help Danzo Shimura research 1st Hokage Senju Hashirama's cells. "Then you continue to be busy. I have some personal matters to attend to." With that, Uchiha Mukaku left gracefully. Uchiha Mukaku understood 3rd Hokage's intention to put him on ice, but he never played by the rules. He had his own way of increasing his prestige. Once he made up his mind, he went straight to Watanabe Lingye's film company. As the initiator of this project, he wanted to see the company's current achievements. When Uchiha Mukaku arrived at the film company's entrance, he was stopped by the company's security guard. The security guard was burly, with a fleshy face, exuding an arrogant aura. He saw Uchiha Mukaku, raised his baton, and said disdainfully, "Ninja, don't loiter here. This is not where you should be." Uchiha Mukaku had just been put on ice, and although he was somewhat displeased, his personality was cold, and he did not show much emotion on his face, only his eyes turned cold. At this moment, the company's boss, Watanabe Lingye, heard the commotion and rushed over. He spotted Uchiha Mukaku at a glance, hurried over to pull the security guard away, and reprimanded him, "You idiot, this is Lord Mukaku, the company's benefactor. How dare you be so rude?" The security guard tried to argue, but Watanabe Lingye slapped him directly and said, "You're fired, get out now." The security guard covered his face, glared hatefully at Uchiha Mukaku, and then left. Watanabe Lingye immediately said with a fawning expression, "Lord Mukaku, I'm sorry, please come in quickly and see our achievements." Uchiha Mukaku nodded slightly and followed him into the company. The company was filled with film-related elements, and staff members bustled about. He then asked, "How is the company operating?" So. "Our cash flow is very large, but we haven't recouped our investment yet. Although everyone is very interested in movies, movie tickets are not cheap, and it's wartime now, so it's difficult to cultivate people's movie-watching habits," Watanabe Lingye narrated from the side. "I see. It seems that even an exclusive business is not that easy to do," Uchiha Mukaku nodded in agreement. "Lord Mukaku, is there anything you need me to do?" Watanabe Lingye asked at the opportune moment. "Indeed, there is. I want to make a movie that questions the cost of war, the equality of life, and the conflict between collectivism and individual value, all through a mission to save one person," Uchiha Mukaku replied without hesitation. Hearing this theme, Watanabe Lingye's eyes lit up. This theme was excellent, and if made into a movie, it would definitely be a huge success. He immediately said earnestly, "Please, you must entrust this mission to us. I won't let you use public office for private gain. After all, this film company also has the Land of Fire Daimyo's property. My intention is that we jointly establish a film company," Uchiha Mukaku whispered, planning. Watanabe Lingye immediately understood, his eyes brightening, and he echoed, "I understand. I'll find people to set up the company right away. After all, no one wants to work for others their whole life, even the king of wage earners eventually wants to become a capitalist." Seeing the other party agree, Uchiha Mukaku immediately pulled out a film synopsis. Of course, he was not an artistic genius, so he directly borrowed from classic films of his original world, renaming Saving Private Ryan to Saving Genin Takumi. After Uchiha Mukaku handed the film synopsis to Watanabe Lingye, he began to elaborate on his ideas. Our story will be set against the backdrop of the Third Shinobi World War, which will resonate more with people from all countries and enhance the movie's immersive feel, Uchiha Mukaku said with deep eyes. Watanabe Lingye listened intently, tightly clutching the synopsis in his hand. Takumi can be set as the child of an ordinary ninja family. His family does not have a powerful bloodline limit nor is it a prestigious clan. However, several of his brothers have sacrificed themselves for Konoha village in the war, Uchiha Mukaku continued, and when this news reached the land of Fire Daimyo, out of respect for the lives of ordinary people and wanting to convey the idea of equality of life in war, he ordered Konoha village to safely bring this child back to the village. Watanabe Lingye nodded as he listened, simultaneously jotting down notes quickly in his notebook. The members of the squad executing this mission can be selected from various different ninja families. For example, there's a ninja from the Uchiha clan. He specializes in fire release ninjutsu, but due to some changes in his family, he has a unique perspective on war and life. He is a somewhat cold but kind-hearted captain, Uchiha Mukaku said. Then we also need a sensory ninja, perhaps from the Hyuga clan. His Byakugan can help the squad detect danger in advance, Watanabe Lingye added. That's right, and there must also be a ninja skilled in medical ninjutsu to treat the wounded at any time during battle. This character can be a civilian ninja who graduated from an ordinary ninja academy through his own efforts. He deeply understands the fragility of life, so he chose the path of medicine in war, wanting to save more lives, Uchiha Mukaku said. What about the battle scenes? Such battles are difficult to film. They need to capture the unique characteristics of ninja, Watanabe Lingye raised his question. The battle scenes, of course, must be spectacular. We'll hire ninja to act them out. For example, on their mission, the enemies they encounter might be an ambush squad from another ninja village. The enemies will use various ninjutsu, like huge rock traps made with earth release, or surging water attacks formed by water release. Our protagonist squad will have to respond with their own ninjutsu and teamwork. Ninja from the Uchiha clan will use their Sharingan to see through enemy attacks, ninja from the Hyuga clan will use their Byakugan to find enemy weaknesses, and civilian medical ninja will ensure their teammates' safety from the rear and provide timely counterattacks. Uchiha Mukaku described excitedly. Also, at the climax of the movie, when they find that, Takumi, he's surrounded by a group of rogue ninja. These rogue ninja lost their faith in the war and only know plunder and slaughter. The protagonist squad must break through many difficulties and engage in a thrilling ninjutsu battle with the rogue ninja. A light gleamed in Uchiha Mukaku's eyes. This setting is fantastic. How will the final themes of equality of life and the conflict between collectivism and individual value be expressed? Watanabe Lingye asked. Throughout the mission, the squad members will constantly have disagreements. Some will think that risking the entire squad for an ordinary ninja child isn't worth it. This is the conflict between collectivism and individual value. But when they see the child's longing for life in his eyes, and the sacrifices his brothers made for the village, they begin to ponder the cost of war. Every life is equal. Whether a powerful ninja or an ordinary villager, no one should be easily sacrificed, Uchiha Mukaku explained. Mukaku-sama, I can't wait to start this project, Watanabe Lingye said excitedly. Then let's get moving as soon as possible. From script writing to actor selection, every step must be carefully crafted, Uchiha Mukaku urged. Watanabe Lingye nodded repeatedly. He deeply understood the project's potential and Uchiha Mukaku's emphasis on it. In the following days, he actively gathered the most talented screenwriters in the company and began writing the script based on the outline Uchiha Mukaku provided. Uchiha Mukaku was also busy. He began selecting suitable actors using his connections in the ninja world. For the role of a ninja from the Uchiha clan, he first thought of Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Mukaku went directly to Uchiha Fugaku's residence and respectfully explained his purpose. Uchiha Fugaku frowned slightly upon hearing him, feeling some doubt about the matter. He crossed his arms and said, Mukaku, my Uchiha clan has never been involved in acting. How can I easily agree? Uchiha Mukaku was prepared. He calmly began to persuade him. Fugaku-sama, please think carefully. First, our Uchiha clan's image in the outside world has always been a bit delicate. Although we possess powerful bloodline limits and unique mastery of ninjutsu, there are always some false rumors outside that say our Uchiha clan is inherently arrogant and difficult to approach. If you can participate in this movie and showcase the Uchiha clan ninja's wisdom, bravery, and loyalty to Konoha village, it will undoubtedly greatly improve our clan's image in the ninja world. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes wavered slightly. He hummed softly, signaling Uchiha Mukaku to continue. Seeing this, Uchiha Mukaku said with more confidence, "Secondly, this is a great opportunity to increase the Uchiha clan's prestige. Once this movie is released, it will surely attract attention from all ninja villages. At that time, everyone will see the excellent performance of the Uchiha clan ninja in the movie, and they will have a deeper understanding of our clan's abilities and qualities. This is like a new business card for our Uchiha clan, elevating our prestige in the ninja world to a new level." Uchiha Fugaku lowered his crossed arms, tapped his fingers lightly on the table, and after a moment of contemplation, said, "While what you said has some merit, our Uchiha clan doesn't necessarily need to rely on this method to gain prestige." Uchiha Mukaku smiled and continued, "Fugaku-sama, this third point is the most crucial. As you know, in Konoha village, the power of public opinion cannot be underestimated. Although our Uchiha clan is powerful, we don't have enough say in public opinion. If this movie succeeds, and our Uchiha clan plays an important role in it, then in the public discourse of Konoha village and even the entire ninja world, we will be able to voice our opinions more powerfully. Whether it's about the clan's development direction or issues of rights in the village, we will have more influence. This is extremely beneficial for the long-term development of the Uchiha clan." Uchiha Fugaku slowly stood up and paced around the room. He weighed Uchiha Mukaku's words, realizing that this was indeed a rare opportunity. He stopped and looked at Uchiha Mukaku, saying, "Mukaku, what you said has some truth. But I have never been involved in acting, and I'm afraid I won't be able to handle this role." Uchiha Mukaku quickly said, "Fugaku-sama, you don't need to worry. We will have professional directors and screenwriters to guide you, and you yourself are an excellent ninja with great strength and unique charisma. As long as you show your true self in the movie, you will surely succeed in portraying this character." Uchiha Fugaku thought for a long time, finally nodded, and said, "All right, Mukaku. For your dedication to the Uchiha clan, I will agree to participate in this movie. However, I hope you can ensure everything goes as smoothly as you said." Uchiha Mukaku was overjoyed and quickly said, "Fugaku-sama, rest assured, I will do my best to ensure the success of this movie." Thus, Uchiha Fugaku joined the movie's cast. This news caused quite a stir within the Uchiha clan. The clansmen were full of anticipation for the movie and also had more aspirations for the future development of the Uchiha clan. To add highlights to the movie, for the role of the civilian medical ninja, Uchiha Mukaku screened many ordinary ninja and finally selected a beautiful and exceptionally well-built female ninja. Although she didn't have a powerful family background, she achieved great mastery in medical ninjutsu through her own efforts, and her kindness and resilience also matched the character. Script writing was also in full swing. The screenwriters continuously enriched the plot and added character monologues and emotional entanglements to the original story framework. For example, in the section about internal conflicts within the protagonist squad, they detailed how each member's background influenced their view of the mission. For scene design, they referenced many real battle scenes that had occurred in ninja villages, artistically processing the effects of various ninjutsu, making the battle scenes both spectacular and tense. Once the actor selection and script writing were initially completed, Uchiha Mukaku and Watanabe Lingye began to prepare for the movie's filming. They chose a location outside Konoha village, with complex terrain and beautiful scenery, as the primary filming site. It had valleys suitable for filming mountain changes caused by earth release and streams that could depict the surging water of water release. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe for more videos.